Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. I am Tom Connors. We have with us today the Script Doctor. How are you doing?
I plead the fifth.
You can't keep doing that to me. Just tell me where the donuts are.
Oh, they're in the lobby.
All right. Well, see, last time you pled the fifth on that one, so you just pick one thing a day, evidently. We also have with us Culture Casino. How are you doing?
I'm better, and I'm here, and I'm excited because Alan's here.
Well, thanks for spoiling the surprise. We also have with us another Canadian called Paul Chato, who's all dressed up spiffy today. Did you have an interview or court?
No, I just finished an episode of Appalling News.
Oh,
and
okay.
I noticed recently you were in a car.
yes. That too.
Was he screaming in it though?
Yes. Yeah. So this is my Appalling News attire. Although with the tie undone here, I look like an old style reporter, like Stacy Keach doing a movie on.
Yeah, you're missing a fedora and a cigarette.
That's it.
No, more like an old detective. Yeah.
Or old detective. I'll take that too. So
there you go.
Anyways, yes, I just finished my Appalling News, which I'll finish editing after my appearance here, and it's very funny. Got lots of funny news. That's appalling.
Anyway, we also have with us the brains behind Film Threat, Mr. Alan Ng. How you doing this morning?
Great. I'm gonna be your sober Chris Gore this morning.
Yeah, we don't have Chris with us this morning. We'll see if he shows up.
Yeah.
So
Andre is also unavailable.
You don't drink, or you just don't drink as much?
I don't drink.
Okay.
But we had the Critics' Choice Awards last night. You may have seen it on the CW.
What?
It was a massive party, and we had a great time.
And how was Chelsea actually?
Oh,
I hate her.
He was so much better than Joe Coy.
Well, that's not hard.
Yeah.
Didn't she date him?
Yeah, she dated him. I think they had quite an extensive relationship.
I was going to say, I think they're still dating, aren't they?
Yeah. But the thing about
Okay.
hosting, I think the best hosts are the ones who can roast.
Yeah.
Joe Coy wasn't a roast comic. That's why Ricky does so well. That's why Tina and Amy did so well.
Did you see they were blaming? Did you see they were blaming Taylor Swift for his joke not landing?
No humor.
Like, no, if it was funny, it would have landed. It's just like it's tired. Nobody cares. Like,
So Chelsea was a good host then.
Yeah, I mean, she does her typical thing, but I mean, I laugh.
got a little experience.
Yeah. I don't find her particularly funny, but good. She's probably a good host.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, she's very experienced. She knows how to deliver jokes. It was a lot of it was female empowerment centered, which
we need to hear more of.
Yes,
Yep.
Not enough of. No, but we're glad to finally have you here proper on the morning show, Alan. It's been a long time coming, and
Yeah, it's good
you
to
guys
see
put
you.
out a very big story, which we're going to discuss here in a little bit as well. We got some super chats we're going to break into right away. We got STR Red Wolf sending in one for $5. Says, the episode's thumbnail is AI generated, but strangely fitting. Good prompt there. Hail all. Well, actually, that's the picture from Alan and Chris's story, funnily enough. So you guys used AI for that?
Adobe Firefly for that one.
Grand Theft thumbnail.
Yeah. I mean, it's seamless. You can't even tell it's AI at all.
I mean, they look like real
people in that image,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, how spot on are those faces?
Totally.
I love the round ears.
Yeah.
They're all Frankie Muniz ears.
So yeah, thank you for pointing that out, STR Red Wolf. And then we got Dr. Long Dongler here sending in £1.99, sending in a thumbs up, reminding you to pound that like button if you haven't already. And thank you, Dr. Long Dongler. We got Hollywood Apocalypse here, who's sending in 35 South African Rand, says, look into South African BEE laws. Think legislation DEI on steroids for everything on every level. Wow. Well, this sounds like something we should turn Andre on to, evidently.
They've not letting the bees make their honey or pollinate the crops. What's going on? They need more diversity and inclusion and equity in bee culture.
Communities, I guess so.
It's like it's only one letter. There are 25 other letters that need to be explored for this species. Enough with the B's. Show us the A's, the D's, the C's.
You were good there till that last part, though. We'll cut that last part. But yeah, no, I'll have to look into this. Thank you so much. And we got Mr. Tickle Trunk here who says, hey. Alan. Hi.
Hey. Hey, Mr. Tickle Trunk.
Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk, for that. And then we've got Samsung, nice name there, who sends in $1.99. Says, my bro is in Tromsø, Norway, for a films festival. Oh, wow. Well, Andre is not in Norway at the moment, but
he's in sunny Spain.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. He's doing some other traveling, but hasn't got to yet either. But hopefully he's having a good time at the festival, Samsung. And then we got Tiger Valley 62, who's been a member for a year. So congratulations on your milestone. And with that, we usually kick things off on Monday mornings by talking a little bit about the box office. And that's one of the main reasons why we have Culture Casino here. So tell us, Culture, what's going on in the box office news?
Crickets.
Box office. I heard. I'm
crickets?
not prepared. So Mean Girls was the top of the box office, I believe, with $33 million.
Yeah, but I mean, literally crickets, dude. I mean,
$33 million is nothing to sneeze at for a comedy musical.
Okay, so the beekeeper did pretty well too. So, I mean, it netted a pretty decent chunk of money at 16.5 million. At least for that particular day. The weekly chart is telling because Wonka's still doing rather well compared to everybody else. I don't know. I didn't know I was going to be called on the carpet for this.
We always call on you for the box office.
That's true. Look, there just wasn't a lot out there in the theaters, and it did give Hollywood Reporter and other trades a chance to say about the Beekeeper that it colonized the box office. I know they were thrilled to be able to use that one.
Pollinated would be more accurate.
Well, and it really did. I mean, a lot of people who've seen the film says it's the best Statham that Statham's been in his Statham history. So
better than his performance in Spy, because that was brilliant. Because the movie overall was not that great.
I don't know.
Spy was great. I love Spy.
Did you see The Beekeeper?
Yes. In fact, I had just finished watching Echo.
Oh.
And I went to see The Beekeeper, and I thought it was the greatest action film ever made.
Well, yeah, but that's because you watched Echo, bro.
I know, exactly. I walked away going, why am I enjoying this so much? And then throughout watching it, it was like, oh wow, this is so much better than Echo. So I felt like my judgment on the movie is a bit clouded, but I certainly had a lot of fun. It not perfect in any way, but just fun.
Well, a lot of people would agree with you, but to the tune of $16.5 million, not too bad for a domestic start. I think this kind of went wide internationally, but yeah, Mean Girls did well. I'm not surprised. Is anybody
Yeah.
surprised that Mean Girls did okay?
Kind of. I'm surprised it did that well. I didn't expect it to go that
Isn't
high.
isn't it a musical version?
Yeah, it's like a musical rebootable sequel kind of thingy. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I took my daughter to see it, and she loved it, but she's also a theater kid,
Oh, yeah.
and I can tell you, all her theater friends are really want to see this movie.
Does it have a Barbie vibe?
Yeah, I think it has the potential of the Barbie vibe. I think the only thing is it does hit that lower age set, but I think that's a rabid enough crowd to want to go out and see the movie on a, and see it many times.
Well, Mean Girls is kind of like one of the closest things you can get to a female cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, it's a musical, which already has a soundtrack out years ago.
Right.
And a lot of my daughter's friends have listened to that musical, have studied the musical, and now they get a chance to see it on the big screen.
But imagine that if you make women's entertainment for women, geared towards women, they'll actually go see it instead of trying to switch something else up, right? Like, look at Aquaman, though. Holy crap. Is that even going to manage to do what the Marvels did? I know it opened better.
I think it's beaten the Marvels overall.
Not domestically.
Mean Girls?
Domestically is not at the point for someone like Warner Brothers right now. It's their worldwide box. They're at like 375.
The Marvel's domestic is 47 million.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more than that.
Wow.
No.
Wait,
not that, when I last looked.
What am I comparing?
Marvels to Aquaman.
Aquaman 2. Yeah, Aquaman 2 crushed the Marvels.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's take a look.
Marvels was like what, 84 million domestic, 199 worldwide, and Aquaman.
I just looked up domestic and it was 47 million.
There you go.
What am I wrong?
I don't know. I'm behind the
Marvels is more
46 million. No, that's Aquaman. Oh no, the Marvels 46 million. See?
That's the opening.
That's the opening.
Opening weekend, yeah.
Opening weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
well, that's what it was. The Marvels opened bigger. That's what it was.
Yeah. Iron Man is beating out the Marvels, which isn't hard to do.
Aquaman, not Iron Man. Big difference.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Aquaman. Sorry. I have not had enough tea.
Yeah, and even foreign blows it out of the water.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing. I mean, the Marvels only lost $150 million, Alan. It's good.
Well, they quit reporting it. That's the problem. So it's actually made more than that.
You say that, but here I am. I'm down on the 8th Wednesday of the Marvels.
Yeah, but they said they quit reporting it.
I think they just quit having it in theaters.
Yeah, or like my theater has it at one time during the day, and in fact, I just missed it.
I'm sorry.
Actually, it's already on video on demand.
You must be heartbroken, Ellen. I am so sorry for you.
So I can ignore it again.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of pushes back on this idea that people don't want to go to movie theaters anymore, as if everyone had spent their yearly movie budget on Barbie and Oppenheimer. I mean, the money's there. People will see this stuff. It's just all about quality.
Well, but I mean, everybody points at Barbie and Oppenheimer as the breakout films, and then but you have to go back to Spider-Man: No Way Home. You can go back to Top Gun: Maverick. You can go back to Mario Brothers. People want to see films.
Yeah, the money is there. The money is there.
You just have to make a good thing. And
that's what I was saying about Mean Girls, right? Like, I mean, it's not made for us, but
no, I'm not going to go see that. I'm not even going to attempt to review it. It would be unfair for me to go.
It's probably going to make its money back and then some, and it'll be a hit on streaming, and there you go.
Yeah. Absolutely, it knows its audience, and it marketed toward its audience. Which
this is a question I wanted to ask you, Ellen. You saw and I saw Hunger Games, the prequel, right? Mm-hmm. That was an example of writing to your audience because the writer, the director, the people that were involved in that project knew that their audience grew up. So they made a more grown-up movie, still targeting that same audience, right?
Yeah, and it's Lionsgate, so they know budget as well.
Yeah, they do.
They have a formula, how much money we're going to spend on it based on who's going to watch it.
Yeah.
And so I'm almost certain it's in the profit range right now.
They got real good at their budgets after bombing like 30 movies in a row.
Mm-hmm.
The formula in Hollywood used to be so simple. Either the movie had an idea that was immediately intriguing, which that became the marketable aspect to it, or if it didn't have that, then they would throw a star in there.
Yeah.
So that was the formula.
Yeah, I mean Eisner was known for that. I mean when he first took over Disney and created Touchstone, he literally had executive board meetings where they would come up with movie plots, and Beverly Hills Cop came out of that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's a very Brandon Tartikoff thing to do, where he came up with an idea like Knight Rider, computer and car that talks to Guy.
A car with gadgets too. That's the other
car
part.
with gadgets. There you go. The guy from Saint Elsewhere will voice the car. I mean, that's the golden age of coming up with crap. I mean, it's so much fun. Your wife is a witch. Of course, that wasn't a studio thing. That was Bernie Salins, I believe. Anyway.
I loved Bewitched.
Me too.
I think it's one of the best. In fact, the film wasn't completely dismissible. It was bad.
It was horrible.
I didn't like the film.
It was bad, but it wasn't completely dismissible.
Sometimes, you know what? I think I figured it out. Culture likes bad shit. Showgirls, Bewitched.
Showgirls is the best movie ever made.
Showgirls is one of the worst movies ever.
Paul Verhoeven is overlooked as like one of the best directors, creators of all time.
Total detour. Holy shit. Yes. No, fucking
I agree. Showgirls is a great movie, and one day I'm going to study it for its plot.
Well, I mean, you can study it for its plot or just look at the satirical nature of what it is for a woman who wants to make it in Hollywood, but they just substitute Hollywood for Las Vegas. Movies for showgirls.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
There is no fucking plot.
There's a plot.
The whole plot is, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have done this. Damn.
Hey, I was intrigued by in fact, I now have a whole new appreciation for the film thanks to Andre, because he sent me the open mat.
The pussy cut. Yes, we get it.
No, that's not what I said. I don't think you guys are focused purely on the carnal.
Yeah.
I did not say a thing.
Artistically,
Chipmunk of Vengeance has been here for a month. Thank you so much for helping us distract from that conversation. One Punch Man token fan. Now there's a name. He's been a member for 3 months. It says, X-Ray Dad, but I'm missing Whiskey Gore voice Monday. I know. Yeah, we need
I'll do Kristen. I can barely make it. Okay, let's go through the box office.
I'm so hungover. Oh my
God. Alan, I completely disagree with you. You're full of shit. What are you talking about? There you go.
No, it's more like you got to do the show this morning. Oh, I can't do this.
But we love Chris.
Okay,
we love
here's the thing, Alan. How many misspellings do you get in email because of Monday Morning Chris? It's got to be insane.
It's like Flaggers.
Well, I mean, first of all, he wakes up late on Monday morning. So, no, he's. Let's just say, if I were to criticize his spelling, I would be hypocritical.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough.
All right. Well, thank you so much, One Punch Man Tolkien fan. We appreciate that. Then we got Walter Tomaszewski here, who sends in $4.99. Says quarter or over OT1 is streaming profitable. Is streaming profitable yet? Has AMC imploded yet? Okay. No and no. It's the best way we can answer that. Streaming will probably not be profitable until they realize, oh crap, we've got to run this like cable, which they're starting to. Mm-hmm. Secondly, as far as AMC imploding, oh no, they've got plenty of stuff there.
They got to get rid of that guy that's CEO, because while he had good ideas when they were coming out of their bankruptcy, heck, he is a terrible leader and he has terrible ideas. So got to get rid of that guy.
You mean the CEO?
Yeah, that's what I said.
CEO of what now?
AMC.
Oh, AMC. Okay.
Yeah, wow. I will say Netflix is probably going down the right direction.
Yes.
Well, they're getting into live broadcasts because they're desperate.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
they haven't curtailed their spending yet. That's the problem. That's what's going to kill them.
Hey, let me speak to that real quickly because we just saw what streaming can do with live sports. Peacock set a record for streaming with 23 million average viewers for a football game.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how's Apple's baseball stats? Anyone knows?
Nobody.
Apple has baseball.
Yes.
Literally, that's the first time I heard that.
They've had it for a while, Alan.
Well, there you go.
What Apple does what now?
Yeah, I mean, I will say the only reason I have Peacock is wrestling. Yeah, I mean, like I was spending $10 a month getting WWE, and it was the transition to Peacock was very easy and cheaper.
So you like guys on steroids?
Oh yeah,
rolling around
They're the
on
best
the
kind of
floor
guy.
Hey, just like
Sweaty.
everybody's watching Reacher right now. Come on.
in very flamboyant costumes.
My Hungarian mother in the 60s, we had wrestling up here in Canada with Sweet Daddy Siki and Whipper Billy Watson and the Sheik. And and they're just all fat men rolling around in the ring. But my mom loved it, and she'd be screaming at the television in Hungarian. It says, "The Sheik, he's got the hidden device. Watch out! He's going to pull it out. Watch." And the guy would he'd get caught in the fake blood and things like that. Oh no,
That's what happened. I told you.
That's right. The chair. Get away from the chair. The folding chair. Don't get hit.
Yeah, my mom banned me from ever going to a live event.
Why?
Oh wow.
Because she said it was fake. I mean,
but it's theater. The people love it.
I hate to break it to you, Alan. It is scripted.
Lies,
it is scripted.
Lies.
Mr. Tickle Trunk. Guys aren't athletic, and it's not like they don't get hurt.
No. Oh, absolutely. No, it's
they die.
Actually, I was going to say that there's probably a worse ratio as far as concussions and brain damage and other injuries and early death due to various reasons than even like NFL, I'd imagine, like the percentage wise. So yeah, in that respect, like that's why I tend to say scripted. I generally don't say, oh, it's not real. Like that's what a lot of people say. So it's like, no. Those stunts are very fucking real. But as far as like the actual theatricality of it, no, that's all scripted, of course, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, after the Chris Benoit incident, they had to institute serious CTE protocols. And so right now, if you suffer a concussion in the ring, they're going to stop the match and they're going to take you out for at least 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. And then bring you back in a cape with babes on each arm.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Well,
even a fake cast that you can rip off and then kick a guy with.
Yeah.
Mr. Tickle Trunk here has a Rumble rant. So we're on Rumble as well. We're coming Rumble flavor now, kids. Says, I almost can't believe that Alan Ng finally made it on the show. I know, right? Did anyone check to make sure he's not made of felt and Chris is up his arm? But well, I guess the jig is up, Chris. They know.
Oh, there we go.
It's really you.
Yeah. And we were having such a good time.
Mr.
Chris, wake up.
Hey, what's going on?
Good morning, my friend.
I went to the after party. Alan did not go to the after party.
How long did that last?
I don't remember. But I had to give a couple people rides home. So
yeah,
let's try to.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah. Well, Film Threat has taken over this morning, and we're actually just getting through some super chats here before we get to your story.
Yeah, we need to hear about the critics. But I do have a question about the show, but I'll ask it later.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
But Lover of the Green sends in 5 and says, I'm so happy that X-Ray Girl's dad finally got promoted to Midnight's Edge. Yes. Well, we've only been trying to get him on here for like over a year now.
You're lucky to have done me this morning.
Helen, yeah, I know. Because at first you're like, I might be able to come in a bit. And then you're like,
he's been
what time
here.
is it? I'll be there. Because I think he knew Chris wasn't going to be here on time.
Nope.
I know I have 2 reviews to do, and then I got to get the D files finished. So,
but what we're going to do is we're going to get to the super chat, and we're going to get right into the D files. Actually,
yeah, because they're going to talk about the article we put up, and I wasn't sure if you're going to be here or not.
So he's trying to cover for you, brother.
The D file sounds a little,
D files.
That's on purpose.
They do defile. That's the why.
That's totally on purpose.
Yeah.
No.
The D files.
Oh yeah.
Of course it is with Chris. Anyway, he says, hail to Alan, Film Threat, and the Fellowship. Well, thank you, Lover of the Green. And yes, I'm very happy to have the film threat team on the show today. This is a dream come true of sorts, and they have dropped a bombshell of a story here. Now, like I've heard from at least one or two individuals from inside before, but you guys had a slew of people come out to you, and in fact, it sounds like even more are coming out to you. So I don't know if I want to hand the lead off to Alan or Chris, but whoever wants to take this
Well,
first.
I'll kick it off. There've been an influx since both those
Right.
stories dropped.
Mhm.
One was since Alan's video on Wish went viral, people, former Disney employees and people working animation reached out. As for the WGA story, when that story dropped on Friday, it's just been a daily deluge and kind of going through and like, what do we do with all of this?
Yeah.
Do we post these comments? A lot of people are saying they want to be anonymous. I mean, Alan's already working on the D-file. So what do we do with all these letters? And we're learning some really disconcerting things. I'll hand it off to Alan from there because I need like 9 cups of coffee. And we should talk about the Critics' Choice Awards in a bit too. But yeah.
Oh yeah, we can jump on that after this.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the things we've been getting have been, it's just further clarifies what's going on and just kind of illuminates what's happening there. I think one person wrote in anonymously, so we don't even know who it is. But one of the things that I took away from that was I didn't realize that the WGA diversity program was funded by the WGA. So basically, the WGA is paying a diverse person's salary for being on a TV show.
Really?
And what they say is basically when the money runs out, that person never gets rehired. And I'll also say that the other thing that stuck out to me in the letter that we posted was, for a writer to write for 2 years and then demand to be a showrunner, tells me they're not a writer. They're not doing it for the love of the art. They're not seeking any real skill or any way of becoming a better writer. They're more interested in the power, to be able to stand up on top of the boardroom chair there and dictate orders.
Well, that's like starting to work at McDonald's on the cash register and then expecting after a year to be running the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I've been writing 17 years. I'm still terrified if I ever got a showrunner thing because I don't know if I could handle that level of responsibility.
Yeah, but I mean, I would imagine. I mean, as much as showrunners do write, they're the ones making all the big decisions outside of the network itself. And again, the battle here is for power. It's not for art.
So you had quite a number of people reach out to you. Were they all mainly from? I don't know if you can even say this, but were they mainly from people who had worked at like Disney, or is it from all over the industry?
It's from all over. It's from all over. The Disney one, the next D-Files will be what happened after Lasseter left, and we look at Raya and the Last Dragon. And
now, did you get any more info on the Lasseter situation? Because I mean, we have stories as to what happened behind the scenes, but haven't got any real confirmation on that.
Well, here's the thing about the first part. I went in thinking that I was going to exonerate the man, and I quickly realized or found out that he had his demons, and we talked about it. He liked to drink. He as affectionate as he was, when you put alcohol in him, he gets a little too affectionate sometimes. And people were telling me that when they would be hired by Disney or Pixar, it was like, don't bring your girlfriends to office parties. But the thing is that he never did anything that that A, was prosecutable, or B, couldn't have been handled in a traditional way prior to 2018, which was you need to get your act together.
Still sounds like it was a bigger deal made out of it than it really was.
It was. Well, the clear intent was to get him out of there.
Exactly.
I think we share that the executive at the executive level, he was a funnel, a bottleneck for getting things done for production, and at the rank and file end, he was brutal when it came to criticism, when it came to being creative or the way you tell your story. You know, it's one of those. He demanded perfection, and he would go stone cold emotionless when he told you how much your work fell short or
Well,
sucked.
that I'm not surprised about because we've heard stories about that when he was still employed.
Yeah.
But at least then the work spoke for itself.
Absolutely.
Now I think you have the opposite problem is sure that they may not have Lassiter there, but they don't have any talent anymore. All the quality has gone out the window.
Yeah, and I think from this letter you see that showrunners were afraid to challenge any of the diverse hires whenever they fell short themselves. In
That's
fear
an
of getting a call to HR.
So can you expand upon that a little bit more? Like obviously we know why, but I mean, is there any specific stories or instances?
I don't. This is what we're being told. I don't have specific stories, but
okay.
But there is, I think ultimately what we'll show in the D file is that there's a cancer running through Disney, and in fact throughout the industry, and it's the rank and file. It's not the executives. It's the hires, and it's not that they're hiring people of talent. They're hiring people who will band together and basically.
But aren't the executives the ones hiring these people though?
Yes and no. I think the executives seem to be hiring the people, the managers, so to speak, and then the managers then hire the work soldiers.
There's also the social atmosphere that a lot of executives have been fooled into thinking this is the direction to go.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'll notice with some of the turnover at some of the other studio heads, a lot of the newer people that have come in are starting to clean house of that. And the only head of a studio that's been there since the dawn of this, Mr. Iger, is the one that's doubling down.
Mm-hmm.
And that should tell you exactly how the industry is actually functioning. The people, because again, studio executives don't like to admit they made a mistake. And even if they're wrong, they will double down until they are either fired or replaced in some capacity. And since we've had replacements at certain studios, we've also seen a decline in some of that poor adjacent bad quality, as opposed to the traditional bad quality where, oh, that was just a bad movie, it sucked. And now we have, oh, this is a bad movie, it sucked, and it was preaching this ideology.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also a great deal of fear going on at the executive level. And I think John Lasseter's firing was the warning shot. It's like, we could take him down. We can certainly take you down. And I think that's why they capitulate so much to the
That's
DEI
a good point. Because like Weinstein, that's one thing, right? Like we've heard rumors for years. I even still stand here and say the only reason Weinstein went down the way he did is because his power was fleeting. That's why. Because at that point, he was not with Disney anymore. He didn't have their backing anymore. He was struggling trying to get anything done in Hollywood. They struck at him while he was the weakest.
Well,
Lassiter, on the other hand,
let's say he was protected.
Yeah, and then on Lassiter, on the other hand, though, he was at the height of his career, right? Like he was the bottlenecking part is the thing that I kept hearing about, and that's where, it was more so I found it nefarious. It's like, sure, maybe he drank too much, maybe he got a little huggy, but as long as he ain't grabbing ass or trying to, say, well, if you want this job, you're gonna have to do this for me, kind of thing, like Weinstein was. I don't see what the problem is here, because as I said, at least then the quality of the material spoke for itself. Sure, he may have been a bit of a tyrant, but you got Wall-E, you got Toy Story, you got Cars, you got all these movies that
well, the last project he worked on was Coco. And
right.
It's considered one of the best Pixar films.
Well, and they already stretched him thin. And my argument before was because after they finally, Bob Iger got Pixar into the Disney fold, what he did is put Lasseter also in charge of Disney Animation. So to me, in my opinion, that stretched him too thin. And then we got to a point where you couldn't differentiate between Disney Animation or Pixar, right?
Well,
like there's a lot of people who say that, like they can't even tell Wreck-It Ralph is a Disney movie. It's not a Pixar.
Yeah, I mean, his reach went beyond animation. I mean, he was the chief creative officer of the Walt Disney Company. Yeah. That went into Imagineering. That went into theme parks and merchandising. So he was, and again, that's what created the bottleneck. He had his hand in too many pots, and you have to admit it. The guy was brilliant, and maybe you needed that bottleneck compared to what we're getting from Disney today.
So, Chris, are you back with us?
Oh yeah, no, I'm here.
You
So,
got the intravenous coffee set up.
Yes. Oh, I
The
got
coffee
coffee.
drip.
so
I have
you were building
Coffee
this
drip,
up
yeah.
over the past week or so, a little bit longer than that, maybe. So here it is. The first part is dropped now. How do you feel the response has been to this write up?
Well, it's been first of all, I don't think for any of us a surprise. This is not a surprise.
Right, but I mean, as far as like the industry as a whole, or any other kind of outside feedback you've gotten at all?
We haven't received any pushback. Like I expect there to be some hit pieces on Film Threat that'll probably make me a focus at some point in the future.
Yeah, Vox is coming after you.
Well, one of those, I mean, who knows? I mean, I've been mostly ignored, but what will happen is Film Threat will write a story, and then it's the same thing with YouTube. Like, you know, YouTubers talking about the decline of Marvel in 2018. Now it's okay to talk about that in the trades 6 years later, right? Like,
Right.
and I feel that's the same way with Film Threat. We were writing stories about casting. We had a column called Tales from the Casting Couch in 1993 that
Right.
ran for several years, and every issue was just a story of an actor's story, not just women, men as well. And the reason we started running those stories is because actors were pissed off. They were losing out on parts because some of their colleagues were willing to, you know, capitulate and acquiesce to the whims of producers trading sexual favors for parts in movies. Okay. Right now, as I speak, there are Oscar winners who traded sexual favors to get parts. Okay. Funny that all that stuff happened. You see how chummy everyone was with Weinstein. Then when they turned on him, they fell very silent. In any case, so Film Threat back in 1993 was writing stories about Casting Couch. It was a regular column. SAG even responded at some point because somehow, I mean, I wasn't aligned with Gloria Allred, but she was involved in a case. And so it ended up making the local Fox News at the time in the 90s. I can find that clip somewhere. It's pretty interesting. But I mean, I look like a goofball as a kid 25 years ago. But so
we've all seen you on the other shows and stuff.
Oh, it's all good. But like, you know, so 25 years later, finally Hollywood is, oh, I guess we'll talk about this. I don't think that has stopped. I think that that's just, they went after the big, I think that was a power grab. And that's what that was more about. I mean, certainly people like Weinstein, I mean, the guy was a monster and did things that were illegal, but John Lasseter, you know, that, I mean, I don't know. I worked with him at this film festival for 2 years. It was the Sonoma Valley Film Festival. He was on the board. He's a big wine drinker, and you know, it's in wine country. He showed up to events. We did Q&As. I went to his house. We shot stuff. I mean, I just, all I saw was creative passion oozing from him, you know.
Well, and he's kind of a hippy dippy
else.
guy, isn't he? In a way, like
He's
all like
kind of a
peace,
hippy
love, and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, he, I mean, famously wore Hawaiian shirts constantly.
That's what I mean.
To work. And there was even a display. Alan, you remember this? A guy sent us a thing. There was this like display of John Lasseter's shirts, and they got rid of the whole thing. It's gone.
Wow.
But anyways, so I have heard stories that aren't in this article that were told to me that are just kind of shocking. I think that
I just want to add, they got rid of Walt himself. I just want to
At this point, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Alan
that's
knows all about that.
the last chapter of the D files.
Okay, well, let's
all right,
get
please
into that,
continue.
Chris. That's actually one of my next questions, anyway. Is
Well, let
what
me
do
finish
you?
with this. Let me finish with
Oh,
this.
sorry, yeah.
It's like, so not only are writers reaching out to us, WGA, current WGA members, people from other guilds. So this is due mostly to the video. It's weird because we promote every story that Film Threat posts on a daily basis on social media, and it gets almost no engagement. We get engagement on YouTube. YouTube is, as you know, we know what YouTube is for. It's but it's also, I feel, a social media platform as much as it is a video and streaming platform. But we've been getting people from other guilds reaching out to us, like production designers, name a craft. Okay. This has infected everything. And what they do is they say, you need to fill out this demographic survey where you have to check all those boxes. And don't worry, it's voluntary. But what they do is they barrage you and say, hey, why haven't you filled out the demographic survey? And they'll repeat like, oh, it's voluntary, but then they keep nagging people in other guilds to fill it out. This is putting people on a list. To me, it's illiberal, it's undemocratic, and it's just another way to divide people. But the thing is out of fear, this is where the fear resides. No one wants to be labeled a racist because then you won't work. So how do you criticize someone that is up and coming in the field with very little experience, being gifted a job? Alan and I were talking about it just last night because it's every morning it's a new slew of, email communications. But like effectively what the WGA has created is paid interns who've got so much power, because at the mere thought that you would criticize someone, they could just turn around and out of their own fear of wanting to protect their job can just make accusations that someone is a racist because they're leveling criticism. Criticism is what made John Lasseter's company Pixar so great, and his very pointed creative criticism and his dedication to making things better. That kind of dedication just doesn't exist. And it's just been very eye-opening, but everyone is in fear that they just won't work again, because honestly, this is like the entertainment industry currently is the Titanic, and the boats are jobs, and people are fleeing the Titanic, and you're looking at an industry that in 5 short years is now been halved, cut in half, right? Half the TV, because the streaming spigot created like a need for new people in the industry, but it also ended up with a lot of stuff that's very average or meh, right? It's just, well, that was okay, but not great or memorable. So maybe cutting the industry in half is really maybe in the long run going to be a good thing, because there'll be more careful consideration for hires and for types of shows that get greenlit. But what you've got is so much garbage now that's flooded, it's turned people off. I mean, it's like, look, if you went to a pizza place and every time you went there, the pizza was not very good, you'd stop ordering pizza from that place. That's Hollywood now. That's theaters. And it takes a lot to get people to go to theaters now. Whereas a Blockbuster, I bored Alan. He just left.
Yeah. Oh, God. Right?
Alan, come on, man. But like, I do think it's hurt the industry, not just from you're looking at like Marvel could release something that was not great, like Captain Marvel, and it would make $1 billion. And now they can't release. I mean, everything is suspect because it's too much and the quality has dropped dramatically. I don't know. I mean, Alan and I still have to talk and figure out, like, what are we going to do with all these letters that we're being barraged with? Do we do like a highlight of letters where the anonymous people will allow us to publish what they've sent us, or a publishable version? But my message to them, it's the last thing I'll say here, Tom. Sorry, I'm on a rant here.
No, you're fine, bro.
But at some point, people need to speak out on the record. At some point, there needs to be maybe a letter where people all sign their names to it, or something. But it's now they've replaced racism with a different kind of racism that's hurting the industry. And it's
almost worse in a lot of ways. I hate saying it because it's not true, but because at least the other type of racism is at least built on ignorance. This is built on stupidity.
Well,
right. This is built on the idea that they're trying to do the right thing, and what it's really doing is ostracizing people, or whatever word you want to put it there.
Well, here's what I'll say. Anti-white racism is real. You can go on any social media platform and say anything cruel or horrible about white people. No one bats an eye. You say anything else about any other so-called protected group. I mean, look, if you want to go on a global scale, white people are a minority. I'm sorry. That's just data and facts, but you can't do that the other way. So I don't know. It's I feel like at some point, people that are not white, people like Alan need to speak up and say, look, for a lot of people, I mean, look, I don't know. I've never heard of someone who was non-white who has succeeded where someone was hoping for their non-success. That's just weird to me. I've never observed that in all my time in the industry ever. You know, it's always like, hey, welcome to the party. You have something creative to contribute. You're in the business.
Denzel Washington has pushed back on it, and so has Morgan Freeman.
Right. But more need to, like.
Yeah, I'll speak up for white people. White people, you do great stuff.
Well,
I watch white content a lot, and I'm very happy with it. So,
and you're right though, because before I got heavy duty into Midnight's Edge and all that kind of stuff, I had worked with a guy who happened to be black, and he could get a lot of shit done certain times just because of the color of his skin. But when it come to certain other things, it was difficult, right? I could get that, but he'd talk about this shit all the time, and he would get pissed off. And this is where I had brought up before, like with Leslie Headland was a great example of this. Because she came out and she goes, "I'm on a
Headland."
Exactly. No, because she come out and she goes, "I want to tell a Star Wars story, but I want it to be from the black perspective, from a black writer telling a black story." And my former writing partner wrote to me about that, and he's like, "There's tons of black writers out there trying to tell black stories. The studios just don't want to fucking hear them." He goes, because it has nothing to do with Star Wars or Marvel. He goes, "That's the fucking problem." He's like, "I got a stack of fucking scripts here from the black perspective that they don't even want to read."
Well, look, I have a friend that I went to college with who happens to be black, who made movies with white people in it because he felt it was such a burden that every time he would make a film with black characters, he just want to tell a story, but there seemed to be this almost like obligation to, it's got to be a black story, so there's got to be oppression,
right? Which is what that movie is right now, but that black writer,
American Fiction. Yeah, it's about that.
That's exactly what that movie's about.
So this friend of mine, who's a filmmaker, made movies with white people because he just wanted to tell a story. He didn't want to tell something. He didn't want to be obliged to like include like, well, if you have black characters, then somehow that's going to lead to, you're burdened with actually telling a kind of story he didn't want to tell. So I think that's really interesting. But American Fiction is great.
That's why.
But
just take a look at the Queen's Gambit, where they they switched the one character that gave Beth the $2,000. She was a girlfriend at the orphanage, and she was black, and but she was made out to look like Angela Davis from the not Weather Report, but the Black Panthers. And that's, she wasn't in the book. It was a white dude in the book. And so, I mean, but there was such an obvious change, and someone had to do it, and she had to call the white people crackers. I mean, it was,
that's like going above and beyond and out of your way. Look, are we going to say that there's never been whitewashing in the history of cinema?
Oh, of course.
God, of course there has. But it's not to the extent of where we're seeing the other kind of washing going on the other direction. And that's kind of going to what my friend was kind of saying is, they don't even, they're false virtue signaling, right? Like, sure, they made a few movies like 12 Years a Slave and a couple other things like that. That was his point. He had stories from the black perspective, whether it was an inner city story or a story from, way back this or that or whatever. They don't want to hear those things if it doesn't have a superhero attached to it or it's not a remake of something.
Well, Paul,
if he walked in and said, "I'm going to do The Fly, but it's from the black perspective," then they'd be all ears.
Yeah, the writer and director of American Fiction, Cord Jefferson, he stated it this way: the black experience ranges from slavery to the president of the United States, and there are an infinite number of stories in between. And he wanted to tell one of those stories that took place in between. But as American Fiction points out, we only care about the slave story or the civil rights story, and maybe the president's story, and nothing that connects the black community with the American community.
Exactly.
Those stories are forbidden.
That's exactly my point, Alan, is like, yeah, that's what he was saying, is they don't want anything that's just a normal story about the black experience in America outside of those few things like slavery and crap like that. Otherwise, unless you're coming in and remaking a movie, like if he said, "Oh, I want to do The Great Outdoors, but I want to do it with Kevin Hart and some other black actor here," they'd be all ears, because it's a remake of something that people know. But it's not.
I will say we are at a point where there are more neutral black characters, let's call it, than Mexican or Spanish. Spanish really are segregated to drug dealers or pool cleaners.
Yes and no. I've seen a little bit of a change, but I know
a little bit of change, but not so much. I mean, listen, we need this change. I think it's important.
But I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, it's kind of went from
but the black guys had those roles. Now we just want good movies. We want good movies with attractive actors and actresses in them. That's all we want. We don't care. I mean, the biggest star for the longest time was Will Smith. I believe he's black. It didn't
Last
stop
time I
white
checked,
people from going to see his movies.
No, and he was the biggest movie star of the 90s. And I point that out all the time, and people forget that. Just like in the 80s, if you take away the fact that Harrison Ford was in two separate trilogies with Indiana Jones and Star Wars, Eddie Murphy was the highest grossing actor of the 80s. Not only that, Bill Cosby was the highest paid actor on television in the 80s. And so like Michael Jackson was the hugest star in the 80s as far as pop music. So like, again, this doesn't compute and doesn't make sense. Sure. And I watch movies all the time. Mighty Ducks was diverse as hell for 1992 or whatever year it came out. Like, what the fuck, kids? Like, we've been here. We've done this. Disney has already been diverse back then, right? That's the other thing that I don't understand with this nonsensical bullshit where they're trying to come off with this, oh, we've got to diversify everything. Oh, that was technically true maybe 40 years ago, but we already did this. Now, the part where we're getting to here, though, and this goes to the writers and some of the other parts, because this is kind of what brought Script Doctor to us to begin with, from my memory. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Script. But I noticed you said if I remember, you said you were having issues getting stories, even read or looked at, or even getting meetings and stuff because of the color of your skin, basically.
It was a lot of deflection around that point. It was basically like I'm writing something that I would pitch it, and people would be like, "Oh, that sounds really exciting, and you should go write that and submit it." And when I finished writing it and went around to submitting it, the industry had kind of changed in that very short period. And we're talking like 3.5, 4 months. And I would send something in, and if something wasn't, I had made enough of a relationship with a lot of these people that if something wasn't good or up to snuff, you'd get a text, an email, phone call saying, it wasn't up to snuff. Maybe you can tweak it, fix it, resubmit, what have you. But I would get silence. And then I would get weird excuses like, oh, it just wasn't something we were able to see a future with. And it's like, and these were excuses that I had never heard before. And because otherwise you just get completely stonewalled, where you send in queries and no one ever responds to you. And basically that's them telling you it was really bad. We just don't want to admit it. And we don't want to let you know it's bad. We're just going to politely not respond. And if you send something new that we like, we will then respond. That was kind of like the relationship that you'd get in some regards. But in this case here, when you have certain executives that get really excited about an idea that you pitch them, you write it, they check in with you about the progress and see how it's coming. And then you send them the script and you don't get a single response back. Or when you do a follow-up with them, either in person or on Zoom or phone call or what have you, they talk around why they can't go through it. That was a real red flag to me. And then I had to start checking, okay, am I really being bad? Like, am I just not hitting it out of the park, or do I need to work more on certain aspects of it? Am I just not in line with the audiences? And after going through this for around 2.5, 3 years, I decided, let me just reach out to the actual audience and do a YouTube channel. And I'll be anonymous and I'll just throw out my ideas. And if I get any traction, I'll know, positive or negative, I'll know what my mistakes are. And oddly enough, I got a lot more positive traction than I ever expected, even in my small little channel that I have here. And then I started seeing how other writers were receiving things.
It sounds like you got
yeah, sorry, someone's
Starships
right
trying
now.
to get a hold of me.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
I need
I'm
you.
getting texted by people in Hollywood right now. So I apologize for that. Great timing. But yeah, it was just a very weird relationship. And then as I would have friends who happened to be of a different ethnicity than me, some that were really great writers, and they would be hired on a show, and they would essentially, for lack of a better term, be put in a corner. And they could speak, they could say things, but nothing would be acknowledged about what they were doing or saying. And I saw a couple of really great writers just completely decide to leave the industry altogether because they didn't want to be treated like a piece of art in the room or something on display. And then conversely, I would be mentoring people that were up and coming, and they were good 2 or 3 years of hard work away from actually becoming something that you could put on a show, like as an assistant or get into an internship or whatnot. And all of a sudden they were getting boosted ahead of other people that had put in much more time, and their quality wasn't at a level that would earn them those positions. And then you would see them fail, and it would break them because they didn't understand why they got this far and why they weren't succeeding. And they would be enabled by some parties saying, well, it's just bigotry and racism from XYZ of the studios or XYZ of the audience, what have you. And it just seemed to have snowballed. And it's all about excuses and not actual reasons. And that's what really shifted, I saw in industry, is the reasons for why is, okay, so in Hollywood, everybody's very encouraging for you to do a good job because they want to make money off of you. And they want to either ride your coattails or be the person that pointed you out and said, look, I saw that creative. I knew they had something special. They look what they delivered. Look how profitable it was. Look how much the audience loves them. Look how much the industry loves them. I was part of the people ahead of the game of everybody else. People love those types of stories. People love to be part of those types of stories. Rarely do you ever get things where, well, it's because the audience is too short-sighted to understand your brilliance or work. You get that in like low-tier independent stuff. You get that from like amateurs encouraging other amateurs that their crap doesn't stink. And now we're seeing this at a level where beforehand it was like, listen, that movie sucked. You know it sucked, but the next one you're going to do is better. Let's talk about that movie. Let's have fun about that movie. Let's see the stuff that you did well in that. Let's talk about the stuff that you made mistakes on. Maybe we can workshop, where your mind was at that point, what the headspace you were in at that point, and hopefully not repeat those for the next part. Because there was actually a love of movies behind it. There's a love of story. And yeah, if you screwed up and found a way to bounce back, people loved that because it was an underdog story. It was a Phoenix Rising story. But now we started getting all of these excuses. Well, it's the audience. Well, it's Trump's America. That's the reason why why your show is performing in the bottom 80 as opposed to the top 20. It was always never, you just suck as a writer. You have to work harder. You got to get better. You got kicked up to the front of the line in a race that you've never trained for.
Oh, you're secretly talking about me. I know.
Yeah, we knew it. We didn't want to say it, Paul, but we're glad that you finally realized it. No, you know who that reminds me of is that Superman writer, the Lois and Superman writer who's like, I know my shit's good. Yeah.
Uh-huh. See, the thing is, a lot of writers, we have confidence in the stuff that we write and love, but we generally do not know if it's good or not until we get people saying that it's good. And then in that case, we have to also assume they're lying because they're being polite. But
there's a level of humility you need to be in art.
There is
that maybe as good as I think my work is, it's not beyond criticism.
That's the other part too. So many writers, myself included, even some of the ones I've known that have been working in the industry for like 20 or 30 years, they will send out their work to their friends and colleagues that they know will give them the honest reaction of how good or bad it is. And the one thing that makes them all feel very anxious is if they get a script back and there's nothing but compliments. And they're like, no, there's got to be something wrong. You're BSing me. Tell me. Because if they don't get that back, they don't feel like they've actually done their job. And they also don't feel like the person that they're reaching out to is going to give them an honest answer. And there's a whole section of the industry where all you get are, yeah, this is a great script. I think this should be made. And it's by the people that have skipped the line, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, speaking of skipping the line, it seems like a lot of people are in it now just to chase titles. You know, that maybe if you're lucky, they'll, you know, because you're diverse, they'll put you on as a co-writer of a animated series episode, and then give you a superhero television show to do. You know, they're looking for, hey, I just need that one writer credit, and then that'll boost me to, you know, do some other big project that I'm clearly unqualified to do.
It's not even just in that part. One of my friends who I've known for 9 years now, I've been telling him to try to write to you guys. Hopefully he does. But there's a whole cottage industry within agents and managers that are pushing this as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're using these diverse clients to get them a little bit more clout and a little bit more of a deeper entry into certain studios, offices, whatnot, to get work for themselves through the proxy of their diversity hire writer that they happen to represent. And that's also a big issue.
Yeah.
I'll say we did those series of panels at LA Comic-Con. I think Alan, you were on all of them, I think. Or no, all but were you?
Yeah, I didn't do the indie. I didn't do the indie
one. Okay. On the Indie Filmmaker Survival Guide panel, I have a friend of mine. His name is Ramesh Iyer, and he's a commercial director. In fact, he directed the Bud Light revamp campaign with the Bud Night. He's actually in Miami right now directing a commercial for the Super Bowl. He's classified as a BIPOC director, and he is not a real fan. He's not a fan of any of this stuff. And it's like, look, I'm a director. That's it. But a lot of the people doing the hiring basically want a virtue signal via the hiring. So it does annoy him that just like on a piece of paper, and you can probably tell from his name, Ramesh, it's not Brian, you know, like, so, but he is annoyed at that process. He's on we posted the video of that panel on the YouTube channel, but yeah, he's annoyed at these practices. It just, you know, is he getting hired for the wrong reasons, or is he beating out someone else for a job, but not based on the work, based on identity? Well, I can tell you that's happening in the industry every day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, the whole point of affirmative action was to give people of color, diverse people, whatever, who are talented, a shot. And now it's become more than that.
Well, and here's the sad part is the weirdest thing about this whole movement to me is what I could not understand, especially considering it technically kind of started, you know, in like sports and in entertainment industry, the two places where diversity has always been way ahead of the game, right? Like sports was one of the first places to open up the borders to more than just white people, right? Like in entertainment,
not always at their will.
Yeah, but it still happened, right? Point being, it happened way back in the 60s, in the 50s and stuff like that. That's my fucking point. Here we are damn near 70 years past that, Paul, and these fuckers are trying to act like, oh, black people don't have the opportunities. No, fuck you. Bullshit. If they're good, they have the opportunities. They're there. We buy their albums.
Well,
we won't stop buying.
Well, again,
music
time
I can remember anything remotely close to this was when MTV refused to show black people's videos until they started showing Michael Jackson videos and Prince videos. That's the closest thing I can think of in the last 40, 50 years where in the entertainment or sports industry where anybody who wasn't white didn't have just as much opportunity as anybody else.
Yeah, Tom, when I think of my favorite Asian football players,
well, that's not my fault. You guys suck at football. Now, baseball. Let's talk about Asian baseball a little bit, though.
Yeah, we got 5.
That's a little different story. You know, well, as a country, I mean, you guys were importing our guys for the longest time there. That was the whole thing.
Well, I mean, baseball is a good example because for whatever reason, black athletes have eschewed baseball, and it's Puerto Rican and Dominican. I mean, that's a interesting experiment, just where interests go. The main thing, even in business, is how big is the funnel. So my example is that if I want a good programmer, and I'm going to use Asians as an example. Sorry, Alan. and there's 10,000 people who happen to be Asians who are really good at programming, and then there's like three black guys in the entire pool of versus 10,000. As a business person, I'm going to have a better chance of getting a programmer that's qualified and will do what I want amongst that 10,000, not trying to give an opportunity to the 5 that's there. So the key is always about the funnel. People are complaining about the final result as opposed to increasing the size of the funnel. And Hollywood, even back in my time there, had a very simple, great rule. And this, I think, applies to everybody. They really hated the Michael J. Fox story where, he went there, he, slept on the floor, and with his last quarter, he got a job in the, he went to the phone booth with his last quarter, got the job on Family Ties. They actually hate that story. Hollywood wants you to be successful in your own community, then come. They don't have the patience for the people who want to, have that magical story in Hollywood. Most people don't understand that. Get your success, and that's open to anybody. Black, white, yellow, it doesn't matter. Female.
As opposed to Eddie Murphy, who was almost a success overnight.
Well, that's rare. And like I said, Hollywood doesn't
again,
like that story as a corporate entity. They don't like that story.
Because people forget how young he was when he got started. He was actually younger than Michael J. Fox. That was my point. He was like 18 years old when he got on SNL.
But like I said, they want you to succeed out in Wisconsin, Toledo. Right. They want you to get your act together there, then come. And that's open to anybody. So if you're good, you're good.
Well, I hate to break it to you, there is no real industry here in Wisconsin, but I see your point.
As an example.
I know.
You speak to supply. I mean, when I was growing up in the 80s, going to college, the idea of becoming an actor or a writer was forbidden in my family. We had come to this country. You're not going to become an actor. You're going to become an engineer, a businessman, doctor.
Oh, me too. Hungarian Jewish parents. I could be a comedian. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, really?
But I'll tell you,
I had to become an architect. I had to actually enroll into architecture just to satisfy my parents.
Yeah, I spoke to the casting director of MASH at the time, and that show had a lot of Asians in it. And that show went on a very long time. And near the end of its run, they were literally running out of Asian actors that they could bring in. And so they brought in Latinx actors to kind of play Asian at that point. Because we as a culture did not see Hollywood, did not see the arts, did not see acting as the viable career. That's different now, very different today. But back then, to find, that's why you only see certain Asian actors at the forefront of anything. Aquafina or Randall Park, Ken Jeong. Those
Michelle Yeoh is in everything.
Asians for every project.
I swear there's a stipulation in Hollywood where every other movie has to have Michelle Yeoh in it now. It's just a given. But no, at the end of the day, I don't see where entertainment and sports have ever had a problem where if you're good at something, they will pay you money to do it.
But there has to be an audience for your services too.
Well, and that's why the WNBA sucks.
Yeah, and if 70% of the audience is white, then unless you find a charismatic individual that crosses all barriers, you're just going to have a tougher time.
That may be, but
like the guy from Tenet, I had no interest in that guy as an actor. He doesn't excite me. He doesn't interest me. I thought he was boring as an actor.
Isn't that Denzel's kid?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
sorry, Denzel.
No, it's all right. I just wanted to make the point there because I just found it asinine that we've gotten to this point where the one place where I felt like there always was kind of they broke down these barriers years ago with like actors winning awards and other things. Like I remember the story, of course, about the whole thing with Gone with the Wind, where they wouldn't allow what's her face to accept the award because she was black. So then the rest of the cast said they're well, then we're not showing up. Right. So, even then, that to me was more of a stand than anything Hollywood is doing now. To me, it's like we've gotten so far past that. Why is this still a thing? And not only that, why are people feeling like they're not getting jobs because of the color of their skin? And that, to me, why do we even have this in this industry? This is an industry that has always been open. And I wonder, the question I was going to ask earlier, Chris, when you were in the midst of your.
Hey, by the way, can I just say that? Did I really say Latinx, or did
you said
I don't know.
Latinx? You
did say
Did I say
Latinx.
Latinx? I meant to say Latino. I'm sorry.
We know what you meant.
But you know, that's what you guys are calling yourselves now. So
Oh yeah, they love it.
I know.
We're trying to
They
retrain us.
love
We're trying to, you know, I'm only when in Rome, that's what I say.
But I had to ask.
Paulie when we need Paulie.
Well, he's in
will
the chat. I
correct-
can send him the link.
Send him the link. We need a cracker count, Paulie.
Oh Lord.
We did this funny.
I gotta ask you and Alan though, Chris.
Sure.
What were some of the stories that were told that probably stood out to you the most through this whole ordeal that you've been getting all these correspondence with all these folks?
Oh my God. Ones that we can talk about, Alan.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
you're more caught
Sorry,
up.
I'm reading all these Latinx comments that.
Yeah, they're roasting you in the chat.
I know.
For that.
It's like
I was trying to move
I
on.
thought I said Latino.
Now you're Alan X, just so you know.
Alan X.
I swear I said Latino, but I guess it came out. Yeah, the mind
I'm
virus.
just so tired of all this. When we look, I mean, the whole ridiculousness. If you look at that story and you look at the check boxes, people were pointing out like China's not going to be happy that there's a Taiwanese checkbox. The checkboxes. Oh my God, we have too many ads. On
Yeah,
this
so
site.
just explain this really quick. Because yeah, for those who don't know, this is what you're referring to. You have advanced search criteria here, and they have all these checkboxes like sexual identity,
so
age group.
If you sign up, you want to apply to be a member of the WGA, you have to fill that out. If you're
which is insane.
If you're a current member, they're asking you voluntarily to fill it out. I mean, the whole thing is fall in line, but these categories are ridiculous. Even when you use the term like white people, like, well, what kind of, are you talking about? Like Irish isn't on there. I'm part Irish. Do I put, I'm Irish, German, English, Russian, and Polish. Okay. So I ate guamki and pierogies when I was a kid.
But in no other industry is this fucking legal, right? Like this is insane.
And it's weird. The sexual breaking down all the sexual stuff is so weird because in my entire career, and I've hired a lot of people. You know, I hired people when I was doing Film Threat back in the day in the 90s when I worked for Larry Flint. I've hired people in other positions and other jobs. I would not for a second think to ask someone their sexuality. These are dumb ideas that have been allowed to they come from academia and now they're being allowed to leak into the workplace, and it's made the workplace freaking miserable. We did a story on Jodie Foster, who was interviewed in Variety saying she's done with Gen Z. They're terrible workers. This isn't good.
And she's a lesbian.
But the thing is this, she doesn't make her entire life about being a lesbian.
I know. I was making a half-assed joke, but
she rarely talks about it. And I had a crush on her when I was a kid, but I've always loved her work because she doesn't pick easy parts. You know, she's not the girl. I think she's brilliant. So, and I've seen some interviews with her about the new season of True Detective, and it looks like it's going to be great. Because she gives a shit. She's a real crafts person.
And let's not forget, she hires Mel Gibson. I mean,
she hired Mel Gibson. She's basically,
that's why people don't like her. Yeah.
Without coming out and saying it, she's super based. She never talks about politics. Jodie Foster is based, but wouldn't say it. She never used that term.
She's an old school lesbian. That's
but look up. We did a video on it on our channel. Is the Gen Z? They're terrible workers. This is first of all the result of bad parenting, and secondly, academia not preparing the workforce to actually be able.
This is across the board, yeah.
It's across the board. It's awful. Look, Alan and I have had plenty of. I can tell you experiences we've had just trying to hire kids. We used to do internships at Film Threat all the time. We'd find a fun task that was easy, you could do remotely. We'd train someone how to do it.
I would have done that shit and thanked you for it for free back then if I could have. Here's the problem is you got kids now that won't do dishes or anything like that. That's the other problem, right? They think they should be able to just come in and run the place. That's the
problem is also, and this speaks to narcissism and a lot of the, the sort of sense of entitlement that the new wave of writers have. It really sort of, it stems from it's the participation trophy thing, right? Like everyone gets a participation trophy. That's whatever. Thank you, Tokyo Steve. Appreciate that. It's that aspect. It's that sense of entitlement. It's that narcissism and not really having to work to get into a position. It's things are handed to them and they think that's how the world works. And they kind of just go on their own schedule. And if they don't feel like doing something, they don't do it. It's also, to me, a generation of children. I mean, how do you know when you're an adult, when you actually know? Like, I would say that there are people that are in their 40s and 50s that might be adults. You can't just say when you turn 18, you're an adult. It's when you are in control of your feelings. And if you're unable to control your feelings, you get morons trying to ban Gina Carano from a convention in Vancouver. I saw that thing that Drunk 3PO did on Saturday where he was talking about the news story and there was a video report and he did.
It's going to be in my next appalling news.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that name. Appalling News.
It's awesome. Now I don't want to break
Did you see the guy in the parking lot who did the video looked a lot like you complaining about the vacuum?
I don't know who that was.
That was
no resemblance whatsoever. I don't know what you're talking about.
Complaining. But yeah, I really do think it's I don't know, like there's a complete lack of respect for authority. Even we had a guy, this happened at Film Threat. We don't have this problem too much because Alan and I are in charge and we pretty much shut shit down. And Alan and I are very like, our duties are like Alan's in charge of this, I'm in charge of that, and then we talk amongst ourselves or between he and I about what we're doing and whatever. But God, we had a case once we hired a writer that like went right to me trying to like critique like everything about Film Threat, but he had just been hired as a writer. Do you remember that, Alan?
Yeah. He seemed like a nice kid until it's like, why are you calling out your boss right now? And
oh my God,
honestly, I think he was doing it for his channel or whatever. And that's what kids are taught nowadays is you gotta make your move, you gotta make your brand, you gotta buck the system at some point.
Well, you gotta
doing a TikTok while they're streaming on YouTube and Twitch.
You gotta shut the F up and listen. I kind of feel like there's just a complete lack of respect for authority or even people like, or what it takes to be. I mean, look, Alan didn't just suddenly, he just sort of walked into this position. He started as a writer at Film Threat, became very prolific, and then just kept getting, it was like, well, you're the obvious person to run all of it. And, I don't know, like and Alan's writing, I'm a huge fan of it. Just like, I like to read my own website.
Well, I'm just glad we finally got him on the show.
Well, I mean, the one and last time,
pretty much.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know he does a lot.
Monday morning is the worst. It's the worst.
Well, for Alan and I both, and look, to full disclosure, every appearance I've ever had at Midnight Stage in the Morning, I'm answering email and doing stuff. That's why I'm off camera. I'm on my couch. I think
we kind of figured that when you're like, what was the question again?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm just like,
before you go, Paul, I just got to say, because culture's got to leave us here.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Patrick Robinson sent in a $4.99 super chat for culture and says, and also culture, don't feel bad. I love the Country Bears movie and I'm not ashamed to admit it. So he's sharing your piss poor taste in films, I guess.
Look, the Country Bears movie stayed true to, the origin of the Country Bears for Disneyland, and obviously Disney World. And I think it was great. And it harkens back to when you had two different shows that you'd experienced through the year at Disneyland. And I thought it was well done. And, while not the greatest movie, it's not. I'm telling you, Showgirls. It's
people picking on me because I'm wearing my Christmas sweater. Look, it's fucking cold. Hey, I'm wearing a sweater.
I'm telling you right now, artistic perfection is Showgirls.
Yeah, Chris,
do check out
your culture for liking Showgirls.
Yeah, go check out Culture Casino's channel. Even though he has bad taste in film, he doesn't
Hey,
bad videos.
I dropped a bombshell news piece last night when I was in bed.
I've heard you've dropped lots of bombs and they've vacated rooms because of your bombs.
Anyway, NFL's buying a slice of ESPN.
Yeah, I wanted to get on some of that, but this
Yeah.
is actually
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
some pretty
Anyway,
big
no,
stuff.
this is
So
this
we'll
is
get
more
to that
important.
Wednesday.
These
We'll get to that
guys are
Wednesday.
way more important. Love y'all. Thanks for following me, and keep on Film Threat because they've been crushing it. Alan and Chris are the
Indeed.
best. I'll see you. Love you. Bye.
And I know Alan's got to be leaving us here
Yeah,
pretty soon too. So before we do lose you though, Alan, is there anything else that stuck out to you so far in this reporting that you wanted to highlight before you take off?
Oh gosh, I should have thought of something. No, I mean definitely read it.
Kind of something that just kind of pushed you back and put you beside yourself. Where you're just like, damn, I couldn't see that coming. It's like Chris said, leading into this is not really news to us, but
It all seems
what's something that even
fairly-
took you by surprise?
I think we all knew all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think for me it is the fact that all these diversity hires, they're young people. They're not seasoned talent who happen to be people of color, who happen to be LGBT, who happen to be women. It seems like they even want to push those people out because of their old ways of doing things. And in terms of who they're bringing in, yes, they're bringing in all the spectrum of the DEI, but we say it again and again. The main word for them is activists. You know, they want to change the system, and while they're doing it, they're killing the system.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much for being here, Alan. We are glad we finally got you on here. Hopefully, we'll be able to find a time that works for you again to have you on again. But take care of yourself.
This is my annual appearance.
Don't have Alan on again. He's got too much work to do for.
Okay, Chris.
Please don't have Alan on again.
Don't. Are you leaving, Chris?
I love Alan.
Are you leaving?
Yeah,
Chris?
he's got to head out and do some work. He said.
Oh shoot! Oh, I thought we were going to talk about the CCAs. Oh, we'll talk about it.
We'll do.
Oh, do you want to do that real quick?
I'll stay on for a few more minutes for CCA.
Okay, sure. So real quick, we'll come back to some of this stuff in the course.
Yeah, I
want to
hear some CCA stuff.
But there was the CCAs. For those who don't know, that's the Critics' Choice Awards last night. Went down, and you and Chris were there, right, Alan?
Yep. Yeah, we were on opposite sides of the room.
Complete opposite. They separated us like two kids that talk too much in the class. That's what they were trying to keep us apart. But no, so Alan and I are members of the Critics' Choice Awards, the CCA, Critics' Choice Association. I've been in it almost 20 years. I haven't been a fairly active member until probably the last like 6-7 years. Alan obviously was someone who should be in the organization. He and I vote in the Critics' Choice Awards, so we vote when the nominees are created, and then in the final awards. And the thing, this organization is considered to be very powerful because it's the best predictor of the Oscars. So if you get nominated or win at the CCA, there's a very good chance you'll get nominated or win at the Oscars. It's just they're nearly identical when you look at what is nominated and what wins. So and they do wine and dine you. They will, say, hey, come to this party, meet Paul Giamatti, and there's going to be like appetizer, snacks, and there'll be a screening, and you'll get to talk to Alexander Payne. Alan and I regularly go to those kinds of events. I'll say that while I appreciate it, my opinion is my opinion, and I'll vote for and support a film that I care about. I feel like Alan is the same when it comes to that. I don't know what else you want to say about it, but
yeah, I mean, in terms of the wine and dining, a lot of times it's just bringing a film up that I hadn't even considered. For example, we went to a Naiad screening from Netflix starring Jodie Foster and Annette Bening, and I'd never heard of the movie until I actually saw it, and it's an amazing movie. And that's the nice thing about these chances to screen films, because you miss them all. You miss the good ones sometimes.
Yeah, and so a small film can break out. A movie like Poor Things, I didn't consider that would, basically Emma Stone is teed up to win Best Actress this year. I never would have thought that, but it is what it is. I'll defend that film. At the same time, never saw it necessarily as a best picture or best actress thing. I just didn't. So But in any case, yeah. So what they do is it's Barker Hangar in Santa Monica. They do there's like 2,000 people in a room, and you're in a room with all the celebrities, and they kind of mix in a critic here and there at the tables. So last night, Kihei Kwan was there, Harrison Ford, the director of Godzilla. There's actually a photo of Alan and I with the director of Godzilla. Alan and X-Ray Girl met Loki.
Yeah, and the American Fiction fan, and I have a picture of me with Kevin Feige. So we'll show that on Wednesday.
Yeah, so Wednesday we're gonna go. Alan and I shot a bunch of videos and pictures. We'll show it on our Wednesday live stream. But it's an interesting event from that sense, and it's a wide section. I think it's about when I started there were like less than 100 critics. Now there's about 400. Is that right, Alan? About 400.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, they opened it up when all the DEI stuff started happening, bringing in a lot of YouTubers and things like that. And so I'm not seeing the effects of it right now, but I'm kind of watching with bated breath here.
So I have a question.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Every award show I've ever gone to, there's always a group of people that are ignored because no one else knows about them. So when for instance, I was at the Ace Awards, no one knew who Michael Palin was, and they just completely ignored him.
Wow.
Utterly. And so I went over and talked with all the different actors that all the other actors and reporters completely ignored.
Well,
I had a great evening. The other person who was completely ignored that evening, you won't believe this, Muhammad Ali.
Wow. Well,
he was on the low part of his trough, and he had nothing, and no one cared. So I went and talked to him.
I don't think that happens at the CCA, only because
I was just going to ask.
So many of the critics are like been watching movies since they were kids. I mean, that's pretty much most of the Critics' Choice Awards. The body, the people that are part of the organization are like longtime film nerds that know their stuff. I mean, there's people I don't know by face. I met a couple of executive producers from TV shows. Tom Holland was there, surrounded by an entourage. Michael B. Jordan was there. I don't know.
I'll tell you, I was near the American Fiction section, and no one's seen that movie except us critics, and they were treated very well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because they made it almost impossible to see in fucking theaters anywhere.
I know. I mean, it's in wide release now. It went in wide release this weekend, so you have a chance to see it now. But no one's talking about it, and I think that's a shame because to me it's one of the best movies of the year.
Well, the Giamatti film came and went. Like there was no publicity.
It's on Peacock now.
Pardon me?
It's on Peacock now.
Oh yeah, fuck.
The Holdovers.
Yeah,
the Holdovers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And American Fiction is coming to Amazon.
Yeah.
It's not there yet.
It's an MGM movie, so it'll be on Amazon.
Yeah. I can just finally see that there's one theater showing it within 50 miles of me.
But see, American Fiction was made for under $10 million.
No, I know, but it just feels like they've done nothing but try to snuff this movie out.
They haven't. It's a strategy. So the strategy is open theatrical New York, LA for influencers, basically the media and critics. Then you open wide to audiences. I don't know that it's a wide mainstream movie, honestly. I think it's very good, but it's not a movie that's going to crack 50 million at the box office.
Yeah, that may be true,
the studios definitely believed it in enough to get it into the awards conversation.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm talking about more so. It's more, this is like Amazon and Netflix and Apple keep doing this shit. They keep throwing a movie out in theaters for a couple weeks, not worrying about making any money for it, not giving it any real fanfare. But then, this is what happened to Tetris. And this is what I said, when nobody talked about Tetris, because they didn't put it in any goddamn theaters to begin with. Sure, they put this in there. But at this point, everybody was talking about American Fiction already weeks ago. Nobody cares now.
Yeah. I hate to rile up the chat again, but I talked to Ryan Johnson about this. And he said that Netflix basically is in fear that the theater will cannibalize.
Isn't he one of the producers on that?
No. This was last year when Glass Onion came out, and Glass Onion got a weekend screening on Thanksgiving weekend, and he was saying that Netflix is just afraid that if they release movies in theaters, it'll cannibalize subscriptions, and so that's why they're very
stupid.
Against it. Mm-hmm.
It is so stupid because as somebody who worked in the video industry for years, that makes absolutely no sense. The one thing that makes a video worth that much more is when it's been in theaters. What will make people want to watch it more is the fact that they're like, oh, I missed it in theaters. There must be something to this. I got to see it. But if it never went to theaters, they don't give a shit. That was my point with Tetris. Most people are like, it's on Apple. They don't want me to see it, evidently.
Well, the thing about the Glass Onion is I had a lot of friends who threw Knives Out parties, and they were specifically to go and see the movie that weekend. That one single weekend it was in theaters. Yeah, so people wanted to see it in theaters on the big screen.
Well, confirmed, Alan Ng is now friends with Rian Johnson.
Yes.
Confirmed. So there you go. I actually had a discussion with some of the producers of Poker Face, who I knew from the indie film days at Sundance, who told me some very interesting things that I can't repeat publicly. Damn it. Why did I say that? Anyways, I got to run too if Alan's going.
Yeah, I got to go.
He and I both.
Well, I do have, I think, at least 1 or 2 super chats for you, Chris. Let me double check here. I mean, they're not specifically for you, but they're on the whole point of this. So let's just, yeah. So let's grab the ones that are.
Alan has a very tight schedule.
Yeah, Shadow Dancer the Red Mage sends in $5 to
leash.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. But isn't telling a story from a so-and-so perspective mostly public therapy? Movies and stories just feel like the writer airing their own trauma.
First of all, you're absolutely correct. The thing is this, that would happen a lot in independent films. If you're making a movie and you're spending your own money on it, or making it for like under $1 million, or maybe even like under $100,000, it is a therapy. You talk to, I mean, look, we're just starting our Sundance coverage this week, at Sundance and Slamdance. I think Slamdance has a better lineup. They always seem to. And it's so many trauma films. You feel like you yourself have been abused after watching so many films. I'm sure Alan has something to say about that as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is the definition of art. You have a story in you that you have to tell. Whether it's in painting or music or in film. But again, you have to consider who's going to watch your story, who's going to listen to your story, and then you budget accordingly.
You guys are so right. Because I mean, you guys helped turn me on to independent film way back in the day when I was just a weed lad, through things like Film Threat and DVD Tuesday. But no, you guys are so right. Like, I expected weird, self-reflective, trauma-filled stories when I would see certain independent films. That's kind of what you're signing up for. Show me something weird. Show me something different. I expect to see stuff like that. But when you go to the theater, you don't expect to go see a $30 million movie called Bros, right? That should be a movie that, as you said several times over, Chris, should not have cost more than maybe $1 million or a couple $1 million tops, if that.
Right.
And been shown and it would have been a huge hit for them.
Huge hit. You almost didn't have to change anything, except reduce the budget. But like, that's the problem, is this arrogance that, that's why it's like when things you started to see mainstream entertainment, these concepts and ideas leak in. It's like, these aren't mainstream ideas. These are very fringe, limited market. Yeah. Mr. Tickets from 2 gay cowboys.
Yeah. Wes Anderson is about as close to 2 gay cowboys eating pudding as the normal general public is willing to get.
Yeah. But Wes Anderson's not making movies for $100 million. And by the way, to be in a Wes Anderson movie, you're getting paid scale. That is the deal.
No, but my point is he's like the closest thing we have right now to that, like, that the general public will accept as an indie, in quotations, type film.
Right.
They're not going to go watch the gay cowboys eating pudding crap, is my point. Like, they're not seeing the Greasy Strangler. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But like, but that's fine. What I'm saying is all that stuff can coexist, and you can have these small indie movies that explore trauma and all that. And there's an audience for that, but it's very small. But when all this stuff is leaking now into like the Echo series, what the hell is it? The Echo series was the checkbox show. Like, it was, and by the way, I watched like Critical Drinker did a panel talking about Echo. FNT did a panel talking about Echo. It was like watching a hostage video, because, and to be clear, I haven't watched Echo. I've watched a ton of clips. Alan watched Echo.
Yeah, you were supposed to watch Echo,
and I didn't watch Echo, and I'm proud of it now. I'm proud I didn't watch it. You're just
Can
hearing
you
everyone
feel the
like, look, I don't have
representation?
5 hours to waste. I got other shit I'm working on. So
Yeah, no, it looked like
Okay.
Checkbox, the TV show, which is exactly the point I was getting to. Is yeah, as you said, there's places for this. The indie side of that is the place for that. The mainstream is not ready for that,
well,
and they
it's,
shouldn't be expecting or spending that kind of money on that kind of stuff.
it's like the main theme that kind of bookends the story written
Mhm.
by the anonymous WGA writer, saying he would go to meetings and in the room they would say, let's talk about story, let's talk about character, let's talk about this, like cool ideas. Now it's about, what are we trying to say with this project? And
Yeah.
the message always trumped story. Always. The meetings began to change, and then the meetings dried up. It's in that piece. And he's also being very kind, because I know this person personally who wrote that story, and the stories that aren't in that piece are shocking. I wish he would tell them. There's certainly stories that writers talk about amongst themselves, right? Inside baseball stuff, but it's really disconcerting. This hard pivot on the industry has just accelerated the demise of traditional Hollywood.
John Doe sends in $5. Says, lame claim to fame. Jodie Foster's brother, Buddy, built my parents' house. Oh,
Buddy
well, there you
Foster.
go. Buddy Foster.
Buddy Foster.
That's a hell of a
I
name.
love Jodie Foster. I think that she cares about story. And that movie Naiad, which is actually on, I saw it on Netflix. I just like, oh, Jodie Foster in a movie, Annette Bening, this could be good. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
By
I
the
wasn't
way,
expecting how good it was.
yeah. By the way, the character is a lesbian, and in real life and in the story, it's not about that at all. It's actually barely mentioned. She is
A
trying.
movie.
That's not so. There's not a message about any of that stuff. And my feeling is, if you look at Jodie Foster's work, she keeps that shit in check. Because
Absolutely.
It's there. It's not. It doesn't matter. Here's
another Jodie Foster directed movie. There's a gay character in it, and actually one of the best characters in the movie, played by Robert Downey Jr. no less. I watch this every Thanksgiving. Have you guys seen this one?
No.
One for the holidays?
No.
Oh God, you haven't? You'll love it. Check it out. This is one of
Oh,
her
Home for the
earlier
Holidays.
directorial. Yeah, this is one of her earlier directorial debuts. Like, I don't know if it's a debut, but it's one of her earlier ones.
Oh, but it's not in 4K, Tom. So I don't know.
But it says Shout Select, so close enough.
I'm just kidding.
But 200 Watt Studios sends in $2 and says, Chris Benoit, known as the family man in the ring. This is, of course, the wrestling business. That one's for Alan. So I think that's the ones that you guys were specific to that we can't handle anyway. Right. So I want to thank both of you, as usual, Chris, for being here on Mondays. But Alan, an extra special thanks for being here. It was a treat to finally get to have you on the channel. And you guys, this is an amazing piece, and I can't wait to see the rest of it. When
I just want to say that movie originally was called Homo for the season. They changed it.
But Jodie Foster thought it was a better idea to change
typo at printing. It's all right.
Well, there you go, Alan. It was.
I know it's Benoit. I say Benoit on purpose to piss people off. I'm sorry.
It was just a surprise to wake up this morning to see I'd been replaced by Alan.
No, I thought you had bailed on them because you were so drunk.
Well, I was exhausted and got up this morning. It was just like I can't wake up.
I look forward to the next iteration of this story.
Yeah, the next piece.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, it's just, here's what's going to happen at some point. The mainstream is going to have I'm talking about the Reporter, Variety, Deadline, IndieWire. They're going to have to pay attention to this. But the reason I think that Alan and I are being inundated with people telling us this stuff is because the traditional trades are not going to cover it.
No, oh, of course not. Not
They're
unless it gets
compromised as the studios. Yep. So here we are, like, and a lot of people, a lot of the writers, like, they've followed Film Threat since the 90s. So they're well aware of our reputation. I mean, in a good way. I feel like we're like maybe a pariah, but also like people do like respect us. I'll just say that, but they may not agree with us all the time.
No, I figured out the chain of events. It was Kevin Smith who clued me into you guys, you guys clued me into Robert Meyer Burnett. So it's all Kevin Smith's fault, either way. But I want to grab this one real quick. Big Daddy MRI just sent this in. Question for the panel. How long will it be before Hollywood can make movies like The King's Speech or A Bridge Too Far, Out of Africa again? Are they even capable of making movies similar to these again? Well, they do, but they just go straight to streaming and they don't have movie stars in them anymore. This is the point I've made before. Yeah. So I want to hear you and Alan's take on this. Go ahead.
I don't think they'll be making movies like that ever again, because there's going to be somebody who's going to point out, how come we needed this, whatever. And, once you've given the checkbox brigade power, all this corporate entertainment's going to suck. The only person who could do it is someone like a Christopher Nolan, right? Not a lot of diversity in Oppenheimer, also based on a real historical event, trying to be accurate to history, not checking boxes. So it's going to take like filmmakers to push back and say, nah, here's the story I'm going to tell. And conversely, you know what? I could give a shit if someone like a Spike Lee wants to make a movie where there are no white people in the movie. Like, do it. Like, go ahead. Yeah, I just feel like there's some certain stories that can be told a certain way. But yeah, I don't think we'll ever see movies like that again. Hollywood's not capable of doing it. And I'm curious for what Alan.
Of course they're capable. Yeah. They just don't care. They make movies they want to see or that they like. Everybody can make. There's nothing stopping anyone from making any of these movies again. The only thing that's stopping them is that certain people and the powers that be don't care. They don't want to.
Right.
They have the faculties. They have the resources to make them. They just don't.
Right.
There's no can or can't in Hollywood.
You need a Chris Nolan or a movie star who wants to actually make one of these again. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You get somebody behind them, then they will. But like I was saying,
don't want, not can and can't. Yeah. There is no can or can't in Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, not the big studios, Paramount, Disney, Warner Brothers, but more like Lionsgate or A24 or Neon.
Blumhouse, even to a point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they won't have the budgets that Hollywood will give them.
Not without a movie star or a director to get behind it. Exactly. Yeah. That's my point too. Yeah.
Yeah. All those classic Hollywood movies, they're in the rearview mirror now. Why do you think they're re-releasing so much? First of all, the theaters there's a lack of product. There's a lack of product I hate saying it that way, to be on screens. That's why Pixar is releasing a bunch of their quote classics to theaters. And guess what? Soul came out and it bombed.
Yeah, it made $460,000
in over 1,000 theaters. Yeah. That is a bomb. So
and I can tell you the theaters are getting a 50-50 split on that one. So it's they're kind of they're desperate. Let's just say that. And
they're desperate. It's bad. All right, hey, I got.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it so much for being here. Yeah.
Yeah, and to the chat there, I have two things to say. Ryan Johnson and Latinx. So long, gay boy.
Oh. He's never going to live that down now. Never going to live that down. But yeah, we've got super chats here. I got 6 in the back here. Did you want to hop on 2-6 or are you going to just stay back there for now? Come on.
I'll stay in the back.
Okay. I just wasn't sure. I didn't want to put you on the spot and I still did anyway. So sorry about that. But all right. So let's get through these real quick. We got Patrick Robinson here who sends in $9.99, says, has anyone watched the TED TV show? I binged it last week and loved it, except for a particular episode. We get it, Seth. You are a liberal. No, I have not watched this yet. I had a friend of mine who kept bugging me saying I should watch it. I wasn't the hugest fan of the films. The second one really sucked. And the first one kind of pissed me off. Right? Something like that. It's on Peacock, I think. Yeah. Has Paul seen it?
I think he is still getting his coffee.
Probably still getting his coffee. Have you seen the TED TV show?
I had no interest in it. I did not see it.
Yeah, me either. Sorry about that, Patrick, but it sounds like the people that are watching it are enjoying it, so that's good. That's all that matters, really. I may get around to it, but like I said, I didn't care for the second film. I know this is a prequel. First film pissed me off because I had a similar idea, and I'm like, God dang it. There goes that script. But anyway. Thank you for that, Patrick Robinson. Sorry we didn't have much more to say on it than that. Pilgrim Media sends in $2 and asks, will the next Tom Cruise movie make any money? It's a good question. Tom Top Gun, it was one of those rare occurrences I feel in Hollywood that I'm not so sure we'll ever get again, and that's why I got the knee-jerk reaction to the Top Gun 3 announcement. But as far as Mission Impossible 8 or whatever, which would probably be his next movie, if I'm not mistaken, unless he's filmed something in between here I don't know about. I think that'll do better than the last one. I think that the last Mission Impossible movie was poorly timed. It was right in the midst of Oppenheimer and Barbie, and you also had Sound of Freedom taking away most of the people who would have normally went to see that movie in theaters. So I think that whirlwind of things worked against it. And people are kind of getting sick and tired of the big bombastic flashy 200 $300 million movies like that. So I think that was another thing. We kind of had a fatigue of that at that point. But maybe by the time part 8 comes out, I think is this summer it comes out or next year? I don't even know. Maybe that one will do it. Yeah. That one might do better, I think. I have a feeling, but I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Do you think Tom Cruise's next film, I can't remember if it's Mission 8 or if he's got something else in between, but I think it's Mission 8. Because he was shooting Mission 8 already during the strikes, or as things got shut down. So,
well, no, he wasn't shooting it during the strikes.
Right before. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. They picked up anything they left off once the strikes ended. But
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no clue. Don't know. I mean, again, there's lots of factors. When is the next Mission Impossible film, and what is it up against on the schedule? That will determine if it makes money or not. The other part too is it's got a very large budget. It was 2 movies shot back to back.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, I think is the dumbest thing you can do. It doesn't matter if it's an existing IP. These are 2 original stories within an existing IP, and you do not know if your audience is going to like it or not. So you're taking a huge gamble. And the first one did not perform to expectations, which means that there's probably going to have to be a lot of work done on the sequel to that to try and find out what audiences weren't liking it from the first one and make adjustments in the hopes that it will work better and outperform in the second one. So it's going to be a very expensive endeavor, and the more they spend, the less likely they'll make money.
Yeah, his next movie is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. And that comes out May of 2025. So, Paul, what's your take on that? You think it's going to make money or?
Oh, you mean the next Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm wondering if they're retooling it. I'm wondering if they took a look at what happened with 1 and they've decided that, I mean, has anyone heard whether they're doing any kind of reshoots or?
No, they were still in the midst of shooting it last I knew, but they could be tinkering with it for all we know. I don't know.
No,
My point was I thought it was poorly timed, I think, more than anything, but yeah.
You know what? It just could have been too much Tom Cruise too soon.
Maybe.
We're in a very weird time. It is really difficult to guess the winners out there. I know people say, "Oh, we're way past COVID," but we've just not gotten back to the same kind of audiences prior to COVID. So
yes and no.
No, we don't have the volume of people going to the theaters. That's
the difference. I don't think it has much to do with COVID. I think it's just they're pickier and choosier with their money.
Well, I mean, for whatever reason, more people were going to the cinema before COVID than now. So,
except for exceptions. That's my point, Paul. When you have like a Spider-Man No Way Home or a Barbie or an Oppenheimer,
but until the studios get back to making 26 movies a year each, now we've lost the studio. There was a nice kind of rhythm that the theaters expected. That's still not there. We're going through entire months where there's really no competition at the cinema.
You mean Fox? We lost the studio.
We lost Fox.
Well, that's technically true, but this year all Disney's movies are Fox movies.
Yes, which is why I suggested that Fox should take over Disney.
They should just do that every other year. Just really. No, I get what you're saying there. I just wanted to point that out.
It really isn't all. It still has not recovered, as far as I'm concerned.
I see what you're saying. I think part of that is true. I think the other half is that the strike hit them hard. And I think the recovery isn't so much from the pandemic as it is just the woke. And until they figure that out, the biggest thing is to me that stood out was when the general audience turned against Disney, right? We've seen ups and downs, left and rights, all throughout film history when it comes to other kinds of films and film studios and the type of fare that they bring out. But when the audience was just kind of like, no, I'm not going to take my kid to the Buzz Lightyear movie because I don't know if I can trust it. That's when I saw a huge shift in audience attendance. Because 2019, they had a record year for films. And that was pre-pandemic. But at the same time, since then, we've had films that have done just as well or better than a lot of films were doing at that time. So that's where I'm not so sure the pandemic has to do with it. Is it just that?
Well,
I think
I'll give you this.
The audience has a knee-jerk reaction now to everything.
I'll give you this. I think it's a combination of all those things all at once.
All right, and I would give you this on the pandemic part. Like now, people don't have the money to do things like they used to either because of that. Because at that point, they were riding high on a lot of pandemic, money that was being handed out for free, and now a lot of people are realizing how broke they really are and in debt they really are. But maybe that's an American problem. I do not know. Mephisto, and I got two Canadians here, so. Mephisto's movie reviews. How you doing, buddy? Sends in 6. What is the denomination over there? That's
wow.
It's Israeli. What the hell is I can't remember the actual name of it. But thank you for that. And I ain't got time to look it up right now.
It's a
6 will probably
squiggly.
get it.
It's a squiggly.
It's a squiggly boo. Yeah. It's Indonesia. I don't know about that 6. Is it? She'll look. If not, I don't know. Who cares? Point is, 6 of them, we got them now. Thank you, Mephisto. And this is a channel you all need to check out if you haven't already. And Tom, from me and All My Feelings, thank you again. I don't know what he's thanking me for, but you need to check out his channel. It's a good channel. And that's the name of it right there, Mephisto's Movie Reviews.
I just want to point out that I got to leave. This just arrived, so I've got important things to play with. I mean, work on,
porn, dude.
Like important.
You can't wait 8 more friggin' super chats.
And then you're. Oh, sure, yeah, I can go. Now I'll wait, and then we're done for the day.
I solved the mystery.
Yes.
Mephisto is according to his YouTube channel. He's in Israel.
Yes, it's Shekels.
He said in the chat it's Shekels.
So did everybody else.
Well, I only trust him.
Shekels, shekel with a question mark, and Mephisto who says Shekels. Yes, thank you, Mephisto, and do check out Mephisto's. I should remember that. It's easy. Take our picture.
Okay, there you go. I've taken your pictures.
I blinked.
I think you did too. All right, we got a couple more super chats here. Connor Dorian, Charlie Manx, Charlie Manx, is that how you said that? Says in $5, says, have you checked out Percy Jackson TV series on D+? No, I have not. I'm not into the young adult type stuff.
Apparently it's okay.
That's a glowing review.
But that was also previously a Fox product also. Disney really needs to just hand the movie studio over to the Fox. They know how to crank out good mid-level stuff with the odd hit. At least Disney would be going back to making movies as opposed to this roller coaster of nothing.
Did you see it, Six?
I saw part of the first adaptation of the books. I've read a few of the books, and like you said, it's young, super young adult fantasy, which is right up my alley. I have not seen the Disney version, but I've heard all kinds of good things about it.
Yeah, I've heard it's okay.
It's definitely not for you guys, though.
No, so we're looking forward to your review.
I'll get right on that.
I got somebody at the door here.
Okay. Nicholas Horton says, he sends a member milestone. Member for 31 months.
Wow, congratulations. Thank you very much for giving us your member.
Yeah, you love Midnight's Edge a long time.
That is.
The DCV Titan says for a Canadian $2, script getting text from Hollywood. Shut up.
If they only knew.
If only they knew. He's pretty desperate.
Yeah.
For the secrets that you have. You know where all the bodies are buried in Hollywood, don't you, Script?
Oh no, it's only if they only knew who I really was, then they'd be telling me to shut up, but they don't. So I'm actually pretty sweet position where I am.
Well, we're working on something together. I haven't heard any notes from you in the draft 3.
Oh right. Well, I got a deadline I had to reach yesterday. No worries. It's I'm gonna reach out to you later today.
Yeah, when are we gonna see this?
When we're done, maybe,
or hear more about it. Can you give us a tease?
It's so unique that I'm afraid to, if we reveal it,
I will be assassinated if you
Oh, okay. Okay, well, never mind. Keep it quiet then. I don't want
Yeah, no, it's got a very interesting twist that's actually giving us grief, but and it's evolving. But I mean, the idea, not that people steal necessarily, but they do.
It's
borrow.
not the theft. It's just it's a concept that people will if we do it well, it will be a trailblazer.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm excited either way. As long as it's not like a Western.
Yeah, we are too.
Good. Zephyr sends $5, Canadian $5. Another problem with kids these days is getting the poop job at McDee's to learn to work. Those jobs are getting taken by students, quote unquote, i.e. work visa scam.
There's also a problem here in Canada where if you have a work visa student working for you, the Canadian government can subsidize up to 50% of their pay. So it's actually a cost-saving measure on the private businesses as well.
Yeah. What is the poop job?
It's just the low-level janitorial stuff, or working cashier, frontline customer stuff. I mean, my girlfriend saw Paul's video this morning, and she was laughing at it because before she got her current job, she had been in a position where she would hear customers say stuff like that to her at those desks.
Yeah, the one here in the GTA, the one thing that's interesting is that there was a period of time where an awful lot of seniors were working McDonald's. That's gone.
They passed away.
They died.
Are you telling me that there wasn't a constant stream of
elderly employees?
Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's funny.
I've never worked fast food.
I'm going to be there.
Oh, I worked fast food. I was even a manager for a while, and let me tell you, most of the people that worked there,
I was a bus boy. Then I late at the Holiday Inns in Don Mills, and then I became a waiter. And I remember one time at the Holiday Inn, the Mormons took it completely over, like a big Mormon convention, and a family of like 12 sat at my section for breakfast. And the husband, first thing he said was, "We're Mormons and we don't tip." And I said, "I'm Paul. I'm not serving you."
Yeah, we've heard you tell that story before, and we had a little bit of butt hurt in the chat.
It's a guess.
All right.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. But
my wife says
no, even when I worked there, and this was years ago, this is even before this current generation, right? Like this would be technically the in-between generation. And even then, I didn't like hiring kids because they were lazy. I'd rather hire somebody like around my or Paul's age or whatever, because I know at least they're going to try harder or they've had some experience, as opposed to some, 18, 19, 20-year-old who's going to work for a week and then not show up again. Because it's too hard.
It is problematic.
Take garbage out. I don't do dishes.
The transition for anyone from school to a job is always very difficult, because once it becomes Groundhog Day, it's not so bad. But boy, that's really, really a tough transition.
The only exception around Wisconsin, because I live in Wisconsin, is we get a lot of the farm kids. So if you get somebody who's actually from a farm, well, they've grown up working. The only problem there is if something goes down on the farm, somebody gets hurt, they're going to end up having to quit so they can go back and help. That's the only downside there. But yeah, it's tough. Cause I mean, I brought this story up before, so I'll keep it quick. Like there's this really great Italian restaurant that makes pizza downtown here, authentic sandwiches and pizza. And he can't stay open because he can't get nobody to work.
Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants in my town that are still, like the Taco Bell just up the street from my house, still is only doesn't open until 4 p.m. because they don't have anybody who wants to work there.
Wow.
Sorry, the snow removal people are out here.
Breakfast tacos.
Sadie's going ape shit. So I apologize for people's ears there. Hyperguyverse 2 sends in $5, says a good father always takes care of his wife and kids before himself. Yeah. I'm not even sure which part that was in reference to, but Scott Westbrook sends in a super sticker. If I remember right, this is the Keep It Up sticker. Thanks to the mods in the mod chat for keeping up with that. We appreciate that. And then we got Connor Dorian, sends in $5. We got this one already.
Nope, this is a different one that Connor probably sent because he thought that maybe he or she probably thought that the first one didn't go through.
Okay, so if you want to, you can check with Google. You got to go through, I think, Google customer service, and you may be able to get one of them returned to you. Can't promise it, but you can always try.
Script will return your money.
Yes, if not, we'll just take it from Script. Inverse Opinion, been a member for 18 months. Wow, thank you so much. Says, I still think that releasing a movie with part 1 in the title is going to automatically decrease the fan interest. I don't know about that. We were debating this last night on Nick Weiser's channel.
Well, I mean, it didn't hurt Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. Well, that was the thing I brought up, which is funny you mentioned that, Paul, is I think modern audiences are even more accustomed to, well, there's going to be another one, right? Like we're even accustomed to waiting through the Marvel credits now because we know they're going to set something up for the future. But I remember people getting pissed when we were leaving Fellowship of the Ring. They're like, wait a minute, there's more to this? This isn't it? I sat through 3 hours and there's more movies? Like there was a lot of people who were really still confused by that, Paul. Like they were just like, what? Wait, what? Like that concept still hadn't come to the audience where they would make a movie and make another part. I also remember Back to the Future 2 pissing a lot of people off because they're like, wait a minute, we only got half a movie here.
Well, I mean, there was, one of the funny things when you watch enough movies, really what you're trying to do is provide enough entertainment value for the money that you've paid, right? That's really key. It's okay. So did you get your money's worth? That's whether people are conscious of that or not. That's your job. And when you see a movie, let's say the Chatham Tatum romancing the Stone ripoff movie with
Jungle Cruise
with Bullock.
Is it Jungle Cruise or is it
Jungle
no?
Cruise
That's
or...
no. It's the other one. It's
it's kind of an exact ripoff of Romancing the Stone, but without as much content in it. But one of the things that's interesting, I forgot, Lost City.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, it's a very thin movie. There's not a lot in it. And you're sitting there going, oh, it's just going from one set piece to another. But is that enough for the audience they're targeting it for? So they're not targeting writers. They're not targeting film critics, right? That's not who their audience is. And so you can go, wow, this movie is thin gruel, but look around to the women around you. Did they enjoy themselves? And for the most part, the answer was yes. And I think it did fairly well. So you can come down hard on a movie like the Mission Impossible, but I imagine when they were editing that together, one of the things in the back of their mind was, did we offer enough entertainment value? And I guess in that particular case, no, but that's not something necessarily they could have guessed beforehand. It's not
for
like
me. It's about my time. I remember driving home from Black Panther 2 when I left after, I think it was maybe 40 minutes. I got into it and then I just got up and left. And I was driving home and I was livid because I thought about all the things that I could have done in the time that it took, from the time I left the house until I got home. Like put on makeup, I put on a bra, and I could have stayed home and I could have done all kinds of stuff. But you don't know that until you get in the theater and you're watching it on the screen. The price is that's not a factor for me.
Right.
If movies were $1, it wouldn't change how many movies I see.
Yeah, I mean, the price only seems to be a factor if you got like a family of 3 or 4 or whatever.
But I think you're right, Six. I mean, time, I think, can be comparable to money in this. Yes. This weekend I binge watched the Queen's Gambit because I was tired of all the crap out there and I just didn't want to see something crummy, and I just enjoyed it the second time so much. I mean, your enjoyment is an important part of your life, right? It's
off
like
of Six's point. Well, this is why a lot of people.
The thing is, let me finish one point. People go, oh, there's these certain books you got to read. Fine, But if in the first 100 pages you're not enjoying it, put it down and don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get to 100 if it's not getting me in the first
No,
30.
you kind of
Then
have
I'm
to
done.
get into 100.
Depends on
pages.
the book.
Yeah, it depends. On the
But
book.
because like here's my thing going off of what Succss point is, that's why, you know, people ask me, well, why didn't you go see this? Why didn't you go see that? Because here's the thing, why am I going to waste all that time for something that chances are I'm not going to enjoy? And nowadays, especially with the way things are going since COVID, especially Paul, this is where the COVID thing definitely has hurt theaters, and you're right about this.
Okay, sorry. I had to.
So you got that in your face when I said you were right about something. So you actually have that actual joy and elation on your face.
Yeah.
But and that is that people know that within 2-3 months, less than that in some cases, they don't have to worry. It's going to be on streaming, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why the hell
absolutely.
should I bother spending an hour driving to the theater, almost 20 minutes getting my ass in the theater? Even with the pre-sold tickets, you still got to go up to the booth thing and scan your thing and do all the same shit.
But that's
you
an
used to.
adult. That's an adult thing. I think kids.
It's still, but the point is there's
like
a
to
90
be with
minutes
other kids.
wasted. 90 minutes just wasted getting into the
Sure,
theater,
listen, I'm not
sitting through the
arguing that.
movie, and then another, hour or so getting home. That's X amount of time out of my life for a movie that sucks.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to get back. The last movie that was worth it for me was Godzilla -1, and I haven't gone back since. I might go see American Fiction at some point here if the weather clears up. But that's just it. I'm gotten to this point now where the only movies that are going to get me off my butt and make that effort are movies that I know are probably going to be worth it. And it has less to do with the money and more to do with the time, like Six is saying. But that's a single person problem. You're right.
Comedy savior to show up. I don't know who it is.
I don't know. Dave Chappelle's getting old.
No, it's not going to be that guy who doesn't wear a shirt.
Yeah, the man guy, the
Bert
beast guy,
Kreischer?
or whatever.
No,
Yes,
it's not gonna be
The
him.
machine.
No,
The machine. That was his movie.
It's not
The
going to be
Machine.
him either.
Yeah, no. And yeah, like the part 1, part 2 thing, I don't think that factors into this so much, because even the Deathly Hallows movie had part 1, part 2 in it. You had that Twilight one. I think
Hunger
the
Games.
conclusion I came to, Hunger Games too. Yeah. The conclusion I came to last night is I think this speaks to, like I said earlier, the timing of Mission Impossible 7 that came out. Had they just waited a little longer, or got it out earlier, maybe they'd done better. And the second factor, aside from that, is maybe that speaking more to the last film, because that's something a lot of people forget that Andre and I always look at when we look at these movies is how good was the last movie, right? Because that generally dictates how the next movie does.
Correct.
So maybe people were not as turned on by the last movie, and that goes to my point I keep bringing up. And people misinterpret me when I'm comparing them to the Transformer movies. I'm not saying the caliber of Mission Impossible is as low as Transformers, but I'm saying the audience reaction to the Mission Impossible movies could be at the point where they are with Transformers, where they're like, okay, I've already seen this already. It's the same as the last thing.
Right. And I'm not going to go see Bumblebee, which was
yeah, exactly. But maybe Mission Impossible, this one was better than the last one, but they've gotten to the point where they know the formula. Tom Cruise shows off the big stunt piece in every one of the trailers already. I know there's certain people who've brought that up too, where they're like, why? I've already seen the big stunt piece. Like that's the whole point of this thing. And I think they also have a bit of the superhero / big movie fatigue feeding into that as well, as I brought up earlier too. But we'll see how part 2 does. So I think it's all going to depend on that.
We need to prevent midnight edge fatigue and shut this thing down today.
Yeah, we're getting there. We got 4 more left here. Mr. Burger's in the house, my buddy, my friend, my pal. I'm gonna get you on Mead, man. We got to have you on. We got to figure out if that works in your schedule. $10 from Mr. Burger. Thank you so much. It's Paul, Six, and Script. You are invited to participate in the greatest trivia challenge on Earth. Thomas Connors versus the movies, coming April 2024.
I would lose.
Be there and be square.
Tom is going to win.
I would lose.
Tom, and I'm not saying that nobody else knows the answers like he does, but he lives in the future. I swear to God. I love Mr. Burger's channel.
My
it is one of
brain
the
just
few
works
live
that much
streams I will
quicker.
listen to after it's not live anymore. And Tom always gets them right. He types like, I don't even know. I'd say Speedy Gonzalez, but apparently that's racist.
Part of that may be true, but I have my weak points. Mr. Burger knows some of them already.
Oh yeah, you don't know everything.
No, no. When we get to certain questions, like when he gets into like the historical news questions, I usually get some of those wrong. And when they do the metal stuff, it's always a matter of me usually guessing. And if I don't know, I just put the answer as Spinal Tap. Because anyway, they always go to 11.
There's trivia I know that most people don't know, like who traveled around, what actor traveled around with magnets when he when he was at hotels.
Who?
Howard Hughes.
Actor
Great,
Howard
you know?
Hughes isn't an actor, but
He was a director, but yeah.
Howard Hughes
that's
is not
Howard,
a director either.
It was Paul Newman, because he didn't want the water to go out of the tub, so he put magnets on the tub, which were ceramic with metal underside, and it would put the curtains up against the sides,
Oh,
so the
gotcha.
water wouldn't go outside of the tub.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
There's
they
an
have that
interesting-
now built into the most.
Yes, correct. But that
I just
Paul
call
Newman carried
housekeeping when I
magnets
make a
around
mess.
specifically to
makes
prevent
sense.
water leakage from the showers.
He didn't want to slip. Daniel Hall
what
says,
model?
"What model, Paul?"
It's the brand new G9 Mark II.
You got to say it sexier than that. It's the
It's
new
the brand new
G9 Mark
G9
II.
Mark II.
What's that stain on the
Oh,
lens
that's
cover?
just that's
Jizz.
schmutz on the lens cover.
Yes,
That's
some schmutz,
totally
all right.
jizz on the fucking lens
Whoa.
cover, man.
This is my Leica lens. If you Leica,
Uh,
it's great.
I like a.
oh,
like
very
it, yeah.
pretty. I got to
It's one
get
of my
one.
older lenses.
I got to get a nicer camera for doing my videos and toys.
This camera shoots open gate, which means at the same time you can shoot vertical style and horizontal all in one shot.
Oh, okay.
That's what's
Gotcha.
unique about
Like
this.
open map, basically. Yeah. Nick Alanian, Nick Allanin. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name, Nick. Sent in 50 smackaroos. Holy crap! Holy.
Yeah, the money's for script though.
He won't let me send in money for Script Doctor. I have ideas for scripts, but while I could imagine them and see them in my mind's eye, I find it very difficult to put words on paper due to how slow it is compared to how fast I think. Should I join your Patreon to get past that? Well, I don't know if joining the Patreon itself will get you past that, but maybe getting some pointers from Script on his Patreon might. Right?
There's that. I also offer screenwriting consulting packages. So if you are on Twitter or X, whatever, just DM me your interest and I'll let you know what those packages are. Or you can sign up to my Patreon for free at the base tier. Send me a DM. I will send you those details. And if you think that they will be useful to you, I will be happy to help you get yourself in shape for writing a first draft of whatever stories you have.
And it's not just screenwriting because you have a client who is writing a book.
Yes, I have a client
Correct?
that's writing a book.
Yeah.
I have a few people I'm working with that are writing comic books. So I've been editing them. One of the comic books I've been editing is Vindicated by Gary Cassell. Gary Cassell. You can go support that on Fund My Comic. So yes, and I do basically it's all story related. It doesn't matter what the medium is. I can help you out getting it into shape or getting it on the page. So at least you're in a better position afterwards than you were before.
My one recommendation is read as many scripts as you can get. There's lots online. If you just search for movie scripts.
Yes, and I actually have a Saturday show where we read some of those scripts.
Correct.
And
A
talk
very
about them as well.
very good show. But
Thank you.
read as many scripts as you can.
What if they're bad scripts?
Doesn't matter.
Initially, I would read good scripts. And don't forget, they're not really scripts, they're transcriptions.
Well,
Of
some
the movie.
of the most best movies they are. You, with a little bit of elbow grease, you will get drafts of scripts that are before the shooting phase.
Right. I have not seen those, but when I was trying to teach myself to write scripts, I would go through an entire movie and transcribe it myself. It would take me a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But just the mere fact of listening to the movie and then writing it all out had an interesting connection. A lot of work.
Okay, well, we have one last super chat, and this is from Patrick Lemire, and I'll let Script Doctor read it.
Oh, thank you so much, Patrick, for $4.99. A Script Doctor tried sending scripts after changing his LinkedIn photo to a POC.
You should do that.
No.
You need a brown and a black version.
It's a good idea.
I really should not throw some makeup on this avatar.
That would be brown face, wouldn't it?
That avatar isn't even pink. Look at me.
I didn't mean
Okay?
to do that.
Maybe
Look
just
at the
some rouge.
difference. Script.
You are slightly pinker hue of white than I am.
You
Slightly.
are. You are. You are a little too white. I'm a bit.
I'm pinker than you are.
You're sallower. I'm sallower than you.
Yes.
Yes, you're pinker. You definitely are.
And I thought I was the whitest motherfucker around here.
No, afraid not. I think
you goddamn crackers.
Script is.
I'm pretty pale.
We don't get much sun where we are.
No, that's true.
Yeah, it's the Canadians. They win. All right. With that, we're going to wrap this up, kids. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. We appreciate it. Thank you again to Alan and Chris. Script Doctor, check out his Patreon, which he was just talking about, of course. Anything more you wanted to plug besides that?
Other than that, if you signed up to my Patreon, you know what screenplay we're reading this week that we'll be discussing this Saturday. And we also have a second thoughts from another co-host that'll be debuting on the Patreon tomorrow and then on YouTube later this week. So be sure to check that out early on the Patreon.
All right. And then we got SpartanBot 1001 who sends in $5. Says, Tom, I'm already pissed on you and other diehards on behalf, but have you seen who Heather Antos hired to write TMNT launch reboot? No. Do I want to?
Oh, don't do this at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean,
no, don't do this.
We'll have to do a video on it.
Oh, Lord. Let's see here. If something comes up real quick. The fact that... yeah, I'm not seeing
it.
Oh, you're torturing yourself now. Don't.
Yeah. Send me the info, SpartanBot, on Twitter.
Go.
And I'll check into it tomorrow for Midnight's Edge After Dark because Paul has to go.
Yeah, I don't.
This is the Paul show. So
yes. And
I want to thank Drunk 3PO for being here as well. Thank you so much.
He's at every show.
He is. He's an Ubermensch. And Paul, where can people find you? Appalling News and
Appalling News. I'm just editing my latest one today that will include a comment with regards to the Gina Carano scaring away the snowflakes at Fan Expo in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Which is
I said, what are they scared of? They got a fighter or something to get in?
No. Well, I mean, that's one of my jokes actually. It's just people who are feeling unsafe in her presence without actually, rather than actually seeking her out and seeing what a nice person she is. So this is the society that we're living in. But we know that there's nothing new but that, but I got some good jokes out on that. And plus, so I got an Appalling News coming out. And right now I've got a I'm in a car video, which people like. And, that's on my Call Me Chato channel. So please, watch that.
All right.
What can I say?
And with that, we have Toxic Femme later on tonight. So hopefully we see you there. And as Andre says, it is time for Koalas in the Rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.